Hey, there go the subs. Looking at us, looking at you. Okay, great. Hello, everybody. Fantastic. Okay. So, let me pull up the crypto market here on this other monitor. And, wow, Bitcoin dropped under 31. That was quick. We'll see what happens with that later. Hopefully it keeps going, man. I hope more people get involved in it. Watch my investment slowly going up, but it is a very slow, painstaking process. Very excited to have my garage door openers working today on my truck. I just got one of those 3 buttons inside the console that you can program to your own garage door opener, and I just never did it because I had a garage door opener. But I'm like, yeah, it's one less thing in the truck to worry about. So today I went up there and programmed it. It took me like 15 minutes, kind of fun little project I had to do. Got it done, feeling good, accomplished everything I had to accomplish today. Girlfriend spent the night last night. We had a lot of fun. We're watching Better Call Saul. We watched a little bit of Destiny's last night, Destiny's chat actually. We kind of found that a little interesting. And I hope Destiny's friend is okay. I never heard back. I'm assuming so. So I got so ripped last night on the dabs. I was doing really large dabs and not really thinking about it. I got carried away, man. And by the time I made it to the bedroom, I stumbled into that bed. Okay, I'm glad she's okay. You know, I was, oh, my chat's not up. Look at that. Let me pull the chat up, guys. Sorry about that. I was over on Destiny's last night, and he was hanging out with somebody, and they were sick. And he said, does anybody know if somebody's, like, trying to vomit and they can't vomit, what that might be? And everyone was, like, guessing in the chat. I was like, man, I hope your friend's okay. Destiny just responded to me in the chat, and he's like, yeah, I took her home around 3 o'clock last night, and I think she's okay. So, hopefully. I hate hearing people get sick like that, man. I hate being sick. Where's my chat, man? My chat's not popping up. This is so weird. There it is. So, we went live late last night, and I didn't go live on the YouTubes. I didn't go live on Facebook. Hey, Griffin. If you're one of those people that refuses to come over to Kick or Rumble or Twitch or follow Truthier News on Twitter, you will miss extra content if you're looking for it. So I am going to be broadcasting to other platforms.
The Beatles said it best, we all live in the yellow submarine, PSHHH.
Well, 5 people died in a yellow submarine, but it's not my problem. Yes, I will laugh about that. If that disturbs you, good. People's stupidity should fucking not bother you at all when people have to answer to their own stupidity. It should make you happy. It should bring a tear of joy to your eye. Oh, I'm crying. A tear of joy. That made me chuckle a bit. Chuckles. Anyway, I got a dab here. I like to do a dab. I'm going to do a dab. I like to do a dab. I'm going to dab.
I'm getting sold some real rubbish, real small bags.
I'm getting sold some real rubbish. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. That sucks. It's so much better when you can grow your own cannabis, you know, man. I know. Not everybody has the ability to do that. Or the patience, or the time, or, you know, whatever. The freedom wherever you live to do it legally. I get it, man, and you got to buy it and whatever, and they sell you crap.
Trendy Dabber Dabberson.
Trendy Dabber Dabberson, son. I actually thought about changing the name back to Trendy As Dabbers last night. I was like, fuck all this. I was watching Better Call Saul, and he's like, I'm changing my name from Jimmy McGill to Saul Goodman, because that's what people know me as. And I was like, yeah, it didn't work for me. I might change my name back to Trendy As Dabbers just to say fuck everybody. All right. No law regarding cannabis, everybody. Cheers. We're going to give this one a good 20 seconds here. And then we're going in. I'm going to turn this fan off, get some smoke rings. It's a little hot. I've turned the AC up a little bit, make it warmer. Long story. Don't want to talk about my long stories. Cheers, everybody.
Hoot in hell. Trendy ass dabbers because we be dabbin'. Hoot in hell. Cheers. Enoch Emmanuel Torres. Cheers, Lem Ego on the red app.
Dabs on my thumb. Oh my god, that felt so goddamn good. It's like the best, bro.
420.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that feeling, man. Oh my god. It's just complete euphoria. Oh my goodness gracious. I have no content for this morning. I'm sorry. I was tied up with my girlfriend. We didn't watch the news this morning. I haven't exposed myself really to anything that's going on today. Last night was kind of interesting. I mean, I could kind of talk about that, what was going on, but I still have this dab on me. I'm just sitting here looking at this dab on my thumb. I feel so helpless. Oh! Well, that was easy. That kind of worked. Oh, here we go. I got some paper towel right here I forgot about. Yeel. Little alcohol, little paper towel. Hey man, I'm taking control of my life right now, guys. I'm taking control. Take control. Take control. You guys remember a little hockey game play hockey on like a Nintendo or something, and it used to say, every time you'd get the puck, it would say, take control. Or am I just making that up in my head? It's all gone. There we go. Might even move on to the dabber now.
Squatters. Patent.
Sounds like the torch is still on. Yeah, it's the fan. I'm blasting the fan right now. Rogan didn't like it. He had to leave.
Ubeasland 400.
Because I got it too warm out here.
I spy a Harls.
There's a Harls. Rogie just got chased out from the fan. I wasn't thinking. He was laying right in front of me, and I wasn't thinking. I feel kind of bad about that. Here, it's coming. Oh, he's coming back. Yeah, Beezle. I love you, Beezle. Everybody loves a Beezle. God, he was so cute this morning. My girlfriend and I are laying in bed, and the dog's between us. And she looks over at me, and she looks at the dog. And she goes, he's always got to be right in the middle, right? And I'm like, I know. I was like, that's okay. I got out of the bed. I walked around, and I got on her side of the bed. There you go. That works. So,
Ubeasland 420. Oh yeah bro, I forgot those dabs sweats. Gotta put that fan on.
Bro, yeah, but not if my dog is right in front of the fan, you know, and it bothers his ears, and then I feel guilty. You know? But what I could do is turn the air conditioner down a little. I turned it up to 77, and I think that's just too hot. You know, I should probably put it on 75. So, let's do that first. Oh, are you going to meow at me? Are you going to meow at me? Hey, what are you doing? Don't do anything stupid. Oh my God. Holy shit. Dude. I swear I put that thing on 77. It's on 75 now. So, I don't know if my mom did that or what. But I'm just hallucinating that it's hot, I guess.
Good morning.
So Destiny got interviewed on NBC, I guess. They're talking about it in the chat. That's pretty cool.
Days. When do we meet the lucky lady? Enoch Y. Ubeasland 420. Hot Dab's son.
I don't know, it'll happen when it happens.
A dab the size of the sun.
Dude, I don't know about those dabs, bro. I don't know about those dabs. I don't know about why I got so much of them, and they're so fucking awesome, and I love doing them so much. I don't know why. I don't know about them dabs, man.
420. Glad you're happy, bro. We all deserve that special someone in our lives.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm so much better when I'm with somebody, you know? But, let's do another dab. Whoa! That just happened. That's crazy. What just happened is crazy. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Montrose.
2, 1. No law
Good
regarding
morning,
cannabis.
Nick.
Somebody cheers.
Enoch YU Beaslin 420. Dabbing it up Legoo. Hashtag NLRC. Hashtag cannabisismtisms for all. Oh God, I hate when politicians roll up their sleeves, man. You don't have to roll up your sleeves, just wear a fucking t-shirt. That's what I say. "36% of Americans are racist." Somebody said that in the chat. T-shirt fitted suits. Hell yeah, man. I mean, if you're gonna go out there and politic, if you ain't digging a fucking ditch, you know, what the fuck are you rolling up your sleeves for? I'm part of the working class. Look at me, I got my sleeves rolled up. It's the biggest ploy, you know, that and pointing with their thumbs. God, I just want to slap them all, bro. All politicians. I just can't see voting for any of them. What was it from Brewster's Millions? Vote none of the above. Fuck that shit. Destiny goes, in your mom. In his chat, someone's like, where's my man Destiny? Destiny's like, dude, in your mom. It's so fucking funny. Oh my God. U Beaslin 420. Love that movie, bro. Brewster's Millions.
Vote none of the above. It made perfect sense when they're giving you a shitty choice. Fuck them all. I can't believe people can look at these candidates and, I mean, look at all the people that voted for Ron DeSantis, knowing what he was doing, encouraging more of that behavior. Dude, if you guys follow, I mean, there's so much shit going on Ron DeSantis. He's destroying himself. He's written so much bad legislation, and it's being reported on extensively. He's being clowned and made fun of and dragged through the mud. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. I started that shit, bro. You know? I was warning people. Oh my God. I bet you I was warning people before I moved to the state of Florida. I bet you I was warning people about them. I'd like to see that from California. A podcast where I'm talking about how bad DeSantis is. Addressing Jimmy Dore, Tim Pool, and Joe Rogan. I remember that. I just don't remember if that was in California or in Florida, but I remember that specifically. I made a tweet to the three of them. And I said, you guys support Ron DeSantis and you claim that he's handled COVID well. Now the truth's out and everybody knows what happened in Florida. Second biggest body count. The bag I towed
only last me 2 hours, cost me $25 and still not stoned.
We're still not, we haven't been honest about our numbers. That you can just lie about shit and get away with it. You know, when there's only one person that stood up and said, you're lying about the numbers. And unfortunately, she had a history, you know, so, and she's got a present, which is just horrible. But if you guys don't know about that, you can follow her on Twitter. She was she was like the woman in charge of the computer system, or one of the people that worked on it, that was supposed to track what was going on with COVID deaths. And she found that the data was being misrepresented. And so she reported that shit. And she didn't just get fired. They came after her, and her son did some shit in school, said some fucked up shit, texted some shit. It's just all kinds of fucked up. And it sucks. But what DeSantis does and gets away with is completely backed up here in the state by the people who vote for him. It is a psychosis. I can't explain it, but it's a fucking psychosis. It's vulgar, it's disgusting, and I'm right in the middle of it. Right in the dead center of the state. It's just as bad here as it is anywhere else. Somebody in Destiny's chat said something about 35%, whatever, of Americans are racist. Try Florida. See what that number is here. Make sure to... That's funny. So, since some of you finally showed up, what's up, everybody? We've just been chilling, waiting. I kind of want some coffee, kafefe, I like to say. And I really like to clean this up right here, and I'm going to do that too on my way to go get my coffee. What do you think about that, folks? Off we go to get some coffee. Clean up the desk.
Hashtag is Mokialong.
All right, let's all coffee up. Or grape it down, or whatever it is you're into. I'll be right back. Man, we got coffee, we got grapes, we are fucking happening, baby. Happening, baby. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, everybody? Sometimes I just need a little coffee and some grapes to get me going. It is the way to go. I'm telling you. Coffee and grapes. I wonder if anybody's ever tried that, because I say that I do that. Coffee and grapes. Everyone's like, dude, I got grapes in my fridge right now. In fact, I got the same kind of purple grapes you got right there, and I'm going to go grab me some and have them with my coffee and see what the fuck you're talking about. Why the fuck do you eat grapes after your coffee? What the fuck is up with that? The avocado trees look awesome out there. So I walked around, I looked at everything. Yesterday my girlfriend and I went over and looked at the tangerine tree that I planted, the one that came from Amazon. And it's starting to show new leaves that are coming out that look healthy. So it's nice, because there's a lot of unhealthy growth on that tree. It came in just a very poor state. It was...
How old were you when you started smoking?
I was 14. The leaves were mangled. I was 14 years old. I had a moped, and I rode a moped over to my friend's house. And I got high as fuck. Oh, you guys have seen that video on YouTube. You guys seen the video where it's one of my biggest videos. It's got like 250,000 views or something on YouTube. I think it's my most watched video, actually. I'm looking at that tangerine tree. I'm excited about it because I see those leaves coming out in various places, so I know it's established and it's going. Also, you know, these from these seeds, these orange sprouts, the orange tree sprouts that I have. The ones that I put outside, out of the 4 that I put out there, 3 of them are doing pretty good. In fact, they're way bigger than this. And then one of them is just like the 3rd leaf. The other 2 leaves died. And I'm hoping that it sprouts the next stage, the next set of leaves, which would be the next node. Do I know my gardening? Well, I don't know growing orange trees because I've never done it before. But what's beautiful is this morning I wanted to program my truck garage door opener because it's got 3 buttons in it, and I just wanted to, have it programmed into the vehicle. So I pulled up a YouTube video and boom, it was right there. Anything you want to learn. I learned how to sprout these citrus seeds. Hopefully I've got a new citrus seed. I hope it's going to sprout. It's in my little sprouting box. I've got like this Tupperware. It's sealed, but it's got like paper towel at the bottom that's wet, and then you just drop the seeds on it. I just sprouted 2 watermelon seeds. I'll show you those, and I'll grab that thing and show you. I'm sure that thing hasn't sprouted yet. It's only been in there for 2 days. Maybe 3 at the most. But I'll show you what that is. And I'll grab these 2 watermelons. Whoa, Mom, no. Holy shit. Oh my God. No. Heavens no. Heavens no. Heavens no. Oops. Holy shit. I should have told my mom not to water my plants. Holy shit, she watered my she watered my watermelons and drowned them. It's covered. I don't know how much water she freaking poured in these things. I just had to drain out a whole bunch of water, and there's still a ton of water left. But these are the watermelon sprouts. This is one of the watermelon sprouts right here. And it is just, there's a ton of water in here still. And then this is the container. It's just one of these, and you just pull that off. It's airtight. You can see the water is just dripping off of this, right? It's just like a little ecosystem. And yeah, you can open this every day and check and whatever. The seed that I'm trying to sprout is down below. It's in the middle. It's covered by a piece of paper, and as of right now, I don't see it. I'm gonna leave it uncovered now. I don't see it growing, so we'll see, man. We'll see if something happens. It might. I can see where the root would form from though on it, so we'll see if that happens. I'll just close that up and put that right there. That'll be exciting and fun. With this, so what I can do with this, I can pour that water out into here, that extra water. Okay. Great. And then we can pour this one out into here as well. Okay, that is a lot better now. more water forms on the top of that sand. I'll just pour that off too, but that's fine. And I still have to water those orange sprouts today. It just takes a second to do it. I try to do them every day. Just a couple of drops of water. There are no holes at the bottom of those cups. No drainage.
Are you supposed to sprout with or without light?
You can use light. No, you can. I've got them sitting in the sunlight all day, bro. These things. They're on the windowsill, right here. They get direct sunlight. Oh shit, what are they watching, dude? They have a fucking link? God damn it. What are these motherfuckers watching? $18. So, oh. Okay, I don't know. Man, I hope somebody puts a link back up in chat. Why are we watching news shit?
For some reason
Yeah.
in my head I'm thinking 18 or 24 hour light period. I'm confusing the light cycle for clone's eye.
There's foil wrapped bread on top of it.
All right.
So it's a whole big salad, plus you got another sandwich in there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, honey.
New girlfriend would be good.
$24-hour light, if you want. I mean, these are just getting natural light. So I guess they're all excited over there. Jesse's chat. He's going to be live on NBC here in like a minute. They're going to show some interview, I think.
Program. These states arguing that because they had the student loan service providers within their states, it would affect their state coffers. She says that's a stretch, and I think what we're seeing from these liberal justices here, like we did with Sotomayor on that other decision you were talking about regarding the wedding website, we're seeing more and more of these justices saying conservatives are out of bounds, and conservatives saying the liberals are eroding the trust of the court when they talk about these political differences.
All right, NBC News correspondent Julia Ainsley on top of it all for us. Thank you, Julia.
Let's go over to Shaquille Brewster, our NBC News correspondent, for more reaction on this, especially from the student side. Shaq, I know you're there in Chicago and you've been speaking with students all day. What are they saying about what this decision actually means for their day-to-day lives?
Yeah, students, graduates, people who have
It's not
those
coming
loans.
up.
You're hearing words like saddened, heartbroken by this decision that is going to impact their everyday lives. For those who oppose Biden's forgiveness program, you're hearing them celebrate, saying that it was about fairness. I want you to listen to a little bit of the reaction I have heard from both sides and pay attention to the first gentleman, specifically the hat he's wearing, and then the comments he's making. We're devastated by it. We were looking forward to the student loan forgiveness. We were actually expecting it. That's going to crush us financially.
As a guy who paid some student loans, you know, you think, well, maybe they could have done a little better. Folks should be, you know, it's a responsibility.
And and you couldn't see it perfectly there, but when he turned his hat around, it was a Make America Great Again hat. He said that this was a decision that changed his view of President Biden. It put him more in support of him despite his vote against Biden in the last election, which goes into the political implications of this decision, that this was a key campaign promise for the president, and now the court has said, no, you cannot take this action.
Shaquille, the student loan payments, we know they've actually been paused since the start of the COVID pandemic. They're set to restart in October. So what does this ruling mean if you are a student with federal loans?
It means that if you have those loans, those payments will restart in October, and any promise of forgiveness has gone away. Remember, this program that was announced the end of last summer, more than 26 million Americans already put in an application for forgiveness. More than 16 million Americans actually had that application approved. So many people thought that their loans were going to be forgiven. You had nearly half of all borrowers, federal borrowers, going to receive nearly complete elimination of their student debt because it fell under that threshold. So for many people, this is going to impact how they pay their bills every month. It's going to be a new bill. That first couple that you heard from, they said this is going to be like another mortgage for them. So this will have a really big impact, and especially when you deal with the equity question and you see who has the majority of those federal loans.
That's right. A lot on the table and some real life impacts there. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster live from Chicago. Shaq, thank you.
Let's bring in Mary Pat Hector now. She is the founder and CEO of RISE, a student advocacy and nonprofit group. Mary Pat, thanks so much for your time today. So we already know the stats are showing that fewer students are even enrolling in colleges and universities. Some are closing, some because of the pandemic. Talk to us about your initial thoughts and reactions to this decision, and more broadly speaking, what kind of effect will this have on students who want to attend college?
As a CEO of an organization that fights for access to higher education and supporting free college options, this is a huge blow to the fight for college accessibility and providing people the opportunity to access their version of the American dream. Before today's decision, there's already been a lot of work done around making education more accessible, but rather than taking a step forward for progress for our communities, the Supreme Court is sending us backward.
And Mary Pat, I mean, let's be honest, everyone has been talking about the rulings that are coming down this week. I mean, between the ruling today on student loans, yesterday's ruling on affirmative action, in your opinion, what message more broadly do you believe the court is sending about higher education in this country?
I think the Supreme Court is showing that only certain kinds of people have the right to access higher education. Their decisions show that people at the margins, they're purposely making it difficult for people at the margins to be able to access higher education. But also what their recent decisions over the course of the past 2 days have shown us is that they don't want us living in an equitable society. These decisions are making us feel like we're living in 1953 instead of 2023.
RISE CEO Mary Pat Hector, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Turning now to our CNBC Money Minute. European regulators are now facing pushback as they work to create rules for artificial intelligence. In fact, more than 150 executives from brands like Dutch brewer Heineken or French car maker Renault, they warn that the rules could make it harder for companies in Europe to compete overseas.
CNBC Tech anchor Deirdre Bosa joins us now. Deirdre, good to see you on this Friday. So what else are companies now saying about the new rules and also the impact they could have, not just in Europe, but also here in the United States if they go into effect?
So the group warned in their letter that regulations could force the companies to move out of Europe because they would face high compliance costs and liability risks. They want European regulators to reach out to their U.S. counterparts so that proposals can remain uniform. Otherwise, they warn about a critical productivity gap between the two sides of the Atlantic. Meanwhile, workers at Spirit AeroSystems, that is a part supplier for Boeing, they're ending their strike. The union that represents them says it came to a new tentative agreement that includes wage increases. The strike started last Thursday. Workers will return on July 5th after the holiday. And the World Health Organization's cancer research arm is about to declare an ingredient found in everything from Diet Coke to chewing gum a carcinogen. The WHO says new research shows the sweetener aspartame is a possible cancer risk. The designation will reportedly not include recommendations for how much is safe to consume. That advice is expected to come from a separate WHO health committee. So, guys, I don't know if either of you drink a lot of Diet Coke, but the message probably cut down on it.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. All right, CNBC Tech Check anchor Deirdre Bosa. Deirdre, thank you.
Up next, the travel and weather woes expected to affect people from coast to coast. What you need to know if you're traveling this holiday weekend. You're watching NBC News Daily.
If your child has diabetes, you'll love how easy Dexcom G7 is. It's on, and he's off. You can see his glucose
So
numbers right in
there's
her...
a lot of people seem to be watching this channel, and they're like, dude, what the fuck? Where's Destiny?
Dabs 4 days. You know all them drink a 12-pack of Diet Coke day, lol, they just their pants.
They're all saying after this commercial break he's going to be on. That's what the whole chat is saying right now. Now I try to bring this up on screen, it won't come up. So I'm just aiming my camera at it. And I actually have the ability to pretty much zoom that in and cut all the other stuff off, so you just see that screen.
Aspartame has been a lure for ant poisoning for ages. Not a shocker to me.
Yeah, you should be able to crop from out here. Like if I clicked shift when I was like trying to do this, or control, or no. Oops. Nope. Okay, so I have to just like, it's the camera. Okay, go into the video. No, that's not where you do it. I clicked on the wrong thing. That's right. You gotta go edit transform. Not that really matters. We should do I don't know my left from my right. I just proved I don't know my left from my right to myself, guys. Just so you know, I have no idea what the difference is between my left or my right is. All right, let's turn that volume back on.
AAA projects nearly 51 million Americans will travel 50 miles or even more from their home this holiday weekend, setting a new record for Independence Day. The majority of travelers will be driving to their destinations this year, but experts say airports will see the highest passenger numbers in almost 20 years. NBC News correspondent George Solis is live for us from Newark Liberty International Airport there in New Jersey. George, hello, TSA. They're saying that today alone, if you just look at those numbers, they expect to screen almost 3 million people. So what is it like behind you? What are the travelers telling you?
Yeah, good afternoon, Morgan. It is staggering to think that today could be an all-time record for travel. You mentioned it, about 50 million Americans traveling about 50 miles or so from the home throughout the weekend. That number also potentially going to break records. Travelers, for the most part, are staying optimistic, right? Here at Newark Liberty, a lot of people have been frustrated with United over those rampant delays and cancellations. Many people here hours, if not days, waiting for an opportunity to be rebooked. Fortunately, there is a little bit of good news on the horizon. The cancellation rate has been steadily declining for across the airlines. Just looking right now, we are still in the double digits for cancellation. Yesterday around this time, we started to see those cancellations creep up into the triple digits, but still, make no mistake, there are a lot of frustrated travelers who are trying to get to their destination or have just been stuck or have lost out on vacation time, have lost out on work. So the problems continue. The airline, for their part, says they've seen meaningful improvement, but this is not just a united issue, as you know. Weather is always the wild card in a situation like this. We have the Canadian wildfires contributing to some delays. Right now, Denver seeing the most delays. It's not so much here in the New York airspace, but a lot of travelers are prepared. They do know, they expected that this was going to be somewhat of a chaotic travel period, given how many people are actually getting on the roads, in the air, and also, you know, those taking trains and those taking cruises as well. But overall, the outlook is looking a little bit better, Morgan.
And George, just very briefly before you go, I mean, we've all been there before. What should people do if they have a flight that's been delayed significantly or even canceled?
Yeah, the best thing they can do is, of course, try to contact the airline, look at their apps to make sure that there isn't some other flight plan that they can be rebooked. And, of course, just going on the websites to seeing what the airline itself is offering in terms of a meal voucher, a hotel voucher. There are options depending on your airline, but really it is just a matter of being a little bit patient and just hoping that your flight isn't the one being canceled. And of course, there is always that last option, that's driving to your destination, which a lot of people don't want to do, but it is always a viable one as well.
And George, sometimes people don't know that you can call the airline and tell them, hey, my flight's been canceled or delayed. Can you guys put extra miles, for example, in my Sky Miles account? And sometimes that can help people get where they are a little bit faster. NBC News correspondent George Solis for us there in Newark. George, thank you.
Good to Morgan. All right, tens of millions of Americans are bracing for extreme weather this holiday weekend, from damaging wind and hail in the Midwest to hazardous air quality in the mid-Atlantic. And there's also the blistering heat dome that has 64 million people across the Southwest and the Gulf Coast now under excessive heat warnings. Some experts are describing the heat as the equivalent of putting a lid on top of a boiling pot. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson is live for us in New Orleans, sort of in that pot. Priscilla, we're sorry to put you there. We know people in the South, they're no stranger to these hot summers, but we're talking about dangerous temperatures here, according to the National Weather Service. And the heat index could get as high as 116 degrees where you are. How does it feel right now? And when will we see some relief?
Yeah, Vicki, that is the big question, especially for the millions of Americans across the South who have been dealing with these blistering temperatures for the past several weeks. Right now, my phone is saying it's about 94 degrees, but as you mentioned, it feels more like 116. The city of New Orleans even saying that throughout this weekend, it could feel as hot as 120 degrees. Numerous parts of Louisiana and Texas hitting Death Valley level temperatures, which is sort of unheard of and historic here. And what I'm hearing from officials, as you mentioned, a lot of folks saying, I'm from Texas, I'm from Louisiana, I'm used to this heat, but officials are saying, no, this is different. These are extreme temperatures. It is feeling much hotter than that. And so they're really urging people to take those precautions before they become overwhelmed by this heat that we're experiencing. And to the big question, when we might see some relief, meteorologists are saying that temperatures are going to cool off here slightly heading into the weekend. So good news for the South, but bad news for the West. Arizona, California under excessive heat warnings through Monday. Vicki?
Wow. 120 degrees in that area with that kind of humidity can feel suffocating. Priscilla, walk us through some of the things. Remind us what local officials are telling people to do if they want to get outside this holiday. And also, we were looking at video of pets, too. Don't forget about your pets.
Yes, all big concerns and obviously very important here in New Orleans this weekend as hundreds of thousands of people from across the country are coming in for Essence Fest, may not be used to this heat. And so one thing, if you can be inside in the air condition, that is the best place to be. If you're going to be outside, make sure you're wearing those loose, breathable clothing so that you can try to get some air. Taking cool showers is something else that folks can do. Closing those window shades at home to just sort of keep the temperature down. And of course, if someone is experiencing an emergency or having an issue, you want to get them medical help. And two other big things for folks who are outside, put the sunscreen on. And the one thing officials have been saying to me, drink water. If you're going to be out on Bourbon, out on the beach, maybe drinking some adult beverages, make sure you're drinking just as much water.
Some adult beverages.
Heat and alcohol do not mix.
An important reminder, Priscilla Thompson.
Some adult beverages.
And coming up, breaking down the impact of another major Supreme Court ruling. You're watching NBC News Daily.
Supreme Court ruling with
My name
Destiny.
is Tom, now in my 80s.
Everyone
I try to
keeps
keep a
going,
proper
Destiny's
balance
on next.
between work,
Destiny's coming up
exercise,
next.
And diet. When I tried Balance
We have to
of
watch all
Nature,
these
I feel
commercials,
like I
and
had more
Dusty's not
energy
going to be
right
on.
away. I feel great. I'm able to play with my grandchildren, so I'm just really excited about it.
For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free travel set when you use discount code COWBOY.
I'll give all these fuckers a link to what I'm watching.
They were right. It could have waited. I can't believe it happened to me. Reaching to check my phone. My friend is never going to forgive themselves for asking where I was. Now, my family has to hear from him.
Dusty says, wow, they're not very punctual.
Coming home again. I was one of the 8 people killed on Florida's roadways today. Ride with Do Not Disturb every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely.
News lives in the now. It's coming at us every second. News is more now than ever.
Look at this. You can't even see anything anymore.
Now is raw. Now is real.
The Fed's decision today, help us translate that into very plain English.
Now is constant.
You gotta see this.
The future is now. News for the generation of now is NBC News Now.
Destiny is in the chat.
Who's ready to talk murder?
Do we have to wake up to murders every morning?
We can't
The chat's going crazy right now.
baby on the way. She is the victim of the West Side Ripper.
What if we make a podcast about this?
We could bring him in on it.
Bring the killer in on what?
The podcast. We forced them to do it. No one ever went broke betting on America's obsession with murder. We are in too deep.
Got the brightness up a little too bright.
Yes, we are.
Wanna play?
You know, I have a queer kid.
Check out
A
the
gentleman
two-time
token.
GLAAD Award-nominated
Replying to Enoch Emmanuel Torres. Enoch Emmanuel Torres sent me friend request for your private reading your blessed ASC.
wanted to see a race.
Here we go. That's way better. Turn the brightness down.
Not guilty. A Florida jury has cleared a former school resource officer charged with failing to confront the gunman who killed 17 people at a Parkland, Florida high school back in 2018. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson has more on the acquittal.
The not guilty verdict brought a release of emotion.
The defendant is not guilty.
Both from Scott Peterson, the school resource officer at the Parkland, Florida high school, who has been criticized for failing to enter the school and confront the shooter in 2018 when 17 people were killed.
Got my life back.
And from victims' parents, like Tony Montalto, who lost his 14-year-old daughter, Gina.
Clearly, when it came time, Deputy Peterson turned tail and ran.
Overnight, Peterson spoke exclusively to our South Florida station, NBC6 News.
It's just
Destiny's
every day,
like dot, dot, dot,
You know,
dot.
every day it's just a constant reminder.
Everyone's
of
going
that
dot, dot,
shooting.
dot.
The now 60-year-old
chat.
Peterson was a Broward County Sheriff's deputy who prosecutors charged with child neglect, negligence, and perjury. Peterson was accused of taking cover for more than 45 minutes before the killer was apprehended. He was also accused of refusing to investigate the source of the gunshots and directed other
Destiny
law
just put up a
enforcement
link.
who arrived on scene to remain 500 feet away from the building.
Scott Peterson chose not to enter, knowing that those shots were
Holy
being fired
shit.
at every time the trigger was being pulled. One of his
He's
students
supposed
was
to,
shot.
dude, he's going to react to
Peterson
Supreme Court.
did what he could, not knowing where the bullets were coming from.
He stands there, vulnerable as you can be, risking his life, and gets on the radio.
So then they
and
start
no
talking about the
shots fired
Supreme
because
Court, they
every
might have
second does
Destiny
matter.
on.
Though Peterson did
This
not
is gonna
take
be
a stand
crazy.
in his own defense, he did tell Savannah in 2018
As a
his conscience
freaking
is clear.
pundit.
You were the one person there early enough who was armed who could have done something. How does that sit with you?
I'm never going to get over this, you know? Those were my kids. You know, I was there to protect those kids.
For Manuel Oliver, who lost his 17-year-old son Joaquin, Peterson failed his family.
I'm going back to my life. That's what he said, which is something that Joaquin will never be able to say.
After Parkland, police response to school shootings have gained even
just
more
put an
scrutiny
image
with
up
Uvalde in Nashville. According to
of
an
him on
analysis
hold
by the Washington Post, more than
with them
350,000
right now.
students
Bonsai
have
House.
experienced gun violence
No.
at school since
Draven will not
Columbine.
be working for the
Back to
Supreme
you.
Court.
A viral video showing a group of Florida teens allegedly abusing a young alligator has wildlife activists outraged. As Nicole Rogers from our NBC affiliate WFLA explains, criminal charges have now been filed thanks to an investigation led by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission.
What's your first reaction seeing that video?
Stupidity. I can see multiple things in there. It's just wrong, wrong possession of it, wrong to just drop it on the hot pavement like that.
This video, taken Thursday, began circulating around social media. It shows a teen holding an alligator in the air while chugging a Twisted Tea.
And my opinion, everybody that got video that touched it needs to be brought in front of a judge, and then the judge needs to take some serious points of view to use them for an example that this has got to stop.
Vernon Yates is the president of Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation. He thinks there's more to this story than just what was captured in this 15-second video.
He's not very lively. Normally, a little alligator about that size, man, when he hit the ground, he should have hit it running.
And so what's your message to those teens?
To those teens, there's got to be something better they could be doing with their time than besides tormenting some poor little alligator.
The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission opened an investigation which led to one of the teens being charged for taking the alligator without a permit. The FWC released a statement saying in part, quote, the lack of respect and responsibility shown toward this animal was disappointing to see. They went on to say this serves as a strong reminder of the consequences of such behavior.
Still ahead, outrage, arrests, and calls for calm in Paris after the police shooting death of a teenager. You're watching NBC News Daily. You can watch us for free 24/7 on our streaming network, NBC News Now. You can do that wherever you stream, including all these places you see on your screen: YouTube, Hulu, Roku, and, of course, always Peacock. Your news continues right after this.
Johnny's military service. What to expect from Florida?
I do take balance of nature and have for years. I love to go on walks, hikes, anything physical. I enjoy golfing.
What do I expect
and
from Florida
I feel
regarding
like balance of nature helps me to maintain that.
Dude, I don't want to
healthy
miss this,
lifestyle
but I'm
that
going
is
to
so
mute
important to me.
What do you mean, Johnny's? What's up, by the way? Oh, shit. I'm gonna type that down. Extension. Whatever. I ain't clicking on that shit. Because I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. see if they're going to talk about Supreme Court.
To court today for the first time since pleading not guilty to multiple charges last month.
Supreme Court with
Federal
Destiny.
Prosecutors charged Santos
You,
with 13
YouTube
counts
censor,
of wire fraud, money
kick.
laundering, theft of public funds, and making false statements to
Kick.
Congress. He faces up to 20 years
Podcaster.
in prison if convicted. Santos maintains his innocence and calls the investigation a witch hunt.
Rapper Travis Scott will not face charges in the deaths of 10 fans at his Astro World Music Festival back in 2021. A Texas grand jury declined to charge Scott after reviewing the case on Thursday, saying, quote, "Not every death is a homicide." Scott's attorney says that the rapper was unaware of the chaos that ensued in the crowd during his performance.
Oscar-winning actor Alan Arkin has died at the age of 89. Arkin is best known for his work on Little Miss Sunshine and Argo. He died earlier this week at his California home. In a statement to NBC News, family members said he was, quote, "a talented force of nature," and said he will be deeply missed.
We have more breaking news today out of Washington, where the Supreme Court has issued yet another major
Here we
ruling,
go.
a case that pits free speech protections against same-sex equality.
Yeah, in a 6-3 vote, the court ruled in favor of a Colorado-based web designer who argued that a state law violated her freedom of speech by forcing her to provide her services to a same-sex couple seeking a wedding website. We team coverage on this breaking story from all angles. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra is following the reaction to the decision, and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos will break down the court's decision. Marissa, let's start with you in Washington, D.C. So this plaintiff, Lori Smith, she did not want to potentially offer her services of website design for a gay couple because she doesn't believe in same-sex marriage. Tell us more about the court's majority opinion written by Justice Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah, well, first we'll start with Lori Smith. We had a chance to speak with her first when that decision dropped down, and we spoke with her about an hour ago or so. And what she said in short, along with her attorney, was that she is thrilled with the decision. As you said, she does not believe in the validity of same-sex marriage, and she looks at what she does as a web designer as expression. She's an artist, and so she did not want to feel forced to express herself in a way that she did not believe in. So take a listen to part of what she had to say with us within the last hour.
From day one, all I wanted is to speak consistent with my beliefs, and I want that for everyone. I want that for the LGBT website designer, the Democrat speechwriter, the Jewish calligrapher, the pro-life photographer, and I'm grateful for the court for affirming that the government can't force anyone to say something they don't believe. Today is truly a victory for each and every one of us.
So you'll hear that a lot. The right to free speech is something that was repeated not just in our interview with Lori Smith, but also something we saw in that decision. I want to take you to, in part, what Neil Gorsuch wrote in his majority. He said, quote, "Colorado seeks to force an individual to speak in ways that align with its views, but defy her conscience about a matter of major significance." Vicky, you had mentioned that this was a 6-3 vote along ideological views. And so we also heard dissent from Sotomayor. She said, quote, "Today, the court, for the first time in its history, grants a business open to the public a constitutional right to refuse to serve members of a protected class." And I'll also add, Vicky, that I know Sotomayor had mentioned the timeliness of this, how this is coming at a time when the LGBTQ community already feels under attack.
And give us a sense, Marissa, I mean, you're talking about the community feeling under attack, but what does this mean practically speaking? What do the next days look like?
Right. So we actually had a chance to speak with the legal director of Gender Justice. This is Jess Braverman out of Minnesota. And so what a lot of people who we've spoken to, especially people in the LGBTQ law community, are feeling, they said that this was not surprising, but it felt disappointing. And so they said that this opens a lot of doors.
Don't care about
this
your
opens
feelings,
the doors
though,
for
buddy.
more potential litigation with people who have either hypothetical ideas, but it also opens doors. They said it makes their jobs harder in litigation because it gives more license to people who discriminate, saying that this is their opinion. So 29 states, I know we're out of time, but there are 29 states with laws similar to the anti-discrimination law in Colorado. So a lot of questions on what happens next.
Thank you, Marissa. Let's stay on the law now and bring in Danny Savalos. So, Danny, some people might remember that case back in 2018 where the Supreme Court also ruled that a Colorado baker had the right to refuse to make a wedding cake for a same-sex couple. So, fast forward here, does this mean now that businesses can just say, hey, free speech, and I don't want to provide services or goods to any group that I choose under free speech?
No. I mean, that could be a slippery slope argument. You can see people arguing as a result of today's decision that any time a business owner may want to discriminate, they might be able to claim that they are speaking. That's the key here. This is not about discriminatory sales. If it were, then the petitioner, Ms. Smith, the web designer, would have lost. Instead, the key to this case is that the court concluded that what she did in designing websites is speech. And if it's speech, it cannot be compelled by the government. So selling widgets, a McDonald's, a store that sells items to people, that's never going to count. But if it falls into the category of speech, it might.
I mean, Danny, my question is more of a big picture question. Is everything sort of just like on the table now? When we looked at the Dobbs decision regarding abortion, we look at affirmative action, now this decision, does it mean that this particular court really doesn't give much credence to precedent? I mean, is that something that's sort of out the window at this point?
No, I wouldn't say that it's out the window. I would say that when it came to affirmative action, for example, and some of the other cases like Dobbs, abortion, those two were cases that were long on the ropes, that it was very likely that as soon as you got a conservative court, that both abortion, the right to an abortion would go away, and so too would affirmative action in higher education. I think people were forecasting that years ago, so that is no surprise. I think the court has indicated, at least the justices have said, that they do have a respect for precedent, including the conservative justices. It's understandable that folks who were supporters of the right to abortion and affirmative action in higher education may not feel that way, and maybe they have a point.
It's Josh G.
All right, NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra, NBC News legal analyst Andy Savalos. Thank you both so much.
We turn now to Paris, where more than 800 people have been arrested for protesting the fatal police shooting of a 17-year-old boy. The French Interior Ministry said that over the past few days, protesters have burned 2,000 cars, damaged nearly 500 buildings, looted stores, and clashed with riot officers. NBC News foreign correspondent Josh Letterman joins us now. So, Josh, tell us more about the original shooting here that sparked these protests.
It's Josh G.
Well, this shooting began, as so many of these incidents do, with a traffic stop, with the prosecutor in this case saying that police have alleged that this 17-year-old was trying to evade being stopped by police after he was running red lights and driving in the bus lane, and that when his car began to pull away from police, they felt threatened. The police were worried that his vehicle could hit either them or someone else, and that was the reason they shot this fatal bullet into this 17-year-old boy, Nahel, ultimately killing him. But this incident has really poured fuel on a fire that has been burning for some time in France. Really significant concerns about racism in the police, discrimination by police officers that many of these protesters who have been taking to the streets for many nights now have been expressing. We heard the UN High Commissioner today urging France to deal with deep issues of racism within law enforcement. The French government has come out saying that they completely reject that. And we just got a very strong statement from the French police union saying that now that's enough. They say that these protesters are savage hordes, and they say that police are in combat because they are at war now, saying they're going to do everything they possibly can to bring this situation under control.
Josh, prosecutors say they opened a formal investigation into the officer who allegedly shot the teen. What more do you know about that?
Yeah, well, the police, according to the prosecutor, have claimed that they acted essentially out of self-defense, that they felt threatened. But the prosecutor has said that the legal requirements for the police officer to discharge the firearm do not appear to have been met in this case. And that is why this police officer has now been put under that formal investigation as France tries to contain this
Destiny goes, oh, well, this is kind of dumb.
With a curfew put in place, all public
transportation Destiny follows savage hordes.
9 p.m. this evening.
All right, NBC News foreign correspondent Josh Letterman. Josh, thank you so much.
Well, Vicki, meanwhile, the FBI is taking action against the frightening and pretty growing trend of swatting. And it's basically when someone makes a prank call to police that provokes this massive response, all under the false pretense of an ongoing horrific crime. NBC News correspondent Jake Ward has more on how the hoax is pulling resources away from actual real-life emergencies.
In 2018, science fiction author Patrick Tomlinson posted a casual tweet.
I simply said that I'd never personally found the comedian Norm Macdonald funny.
It caught the attention of online harassers who began swatting Patrick and his wife Nikki at their Milwaukee home. Swatting is when false calls trick 911 dispatchers into sending an all-out armed response. The experience can be terrifying.
Oh my God!
I made my way downstairs to find that there are half a dozen police with pistols drawn, shotguns, AR-15s, flashlights all pointed at my head. I am pulled out of the house, and then on my own front porch, I'm handcuffed.
And not just once.
Our house has been swatted 42 times now.
42 times police have actually come in some form to your door.
Yes.
No central agency tracks swatting, but one estimate put the number at more than 1,000 incidents in 2019 alone. Over just 6 days this April, at least 9 universities were victims. And police estimate each incident costs communities more than $10,000. Patrick and Nikki are still constantly harassed.
They've been texting us during this interview.
And their harassers use voice synthesizers and other technology to mask their identity.
WTF.
Get a real job. Then again, you'll be able to learn a trade in prison.
At the same time, they can't get the police to stop coming.
The Milwaukee Police Department tells NBC News they have been to Patrick and Nikki's house at least 40 times, but they didn't share any ideas for how they're going to solve this problem.
In a statement, they told us MPD has a duty to respond to calls for service in order to
Why
ensure
don't you
that no
fucking
one is in
investigate
danger.
who's doing
How
this and then go
dangerous
prosecute
is
them, you
swatting?
idiots?
Now, the FBI is getting involved, creating a swatting command center so police departments can exchange information.
We know the problem exists throughout the country. I think the FBI recognizes
These guys
that,
are fucking
we have
feckless fools.
resources available to help track what's going on, to be able to easily share information with one another, to report incidents.
Meanwhile, Patrick and Nikki are in their 5th year of daily harassment.
What has it done to the two of you to be in this position?
It's taken away our
Johnny's
sanctuary.
military
We don't
service.
feel safe in our own
A
home.
welfare check
Every
is just
department
as Dennis.
in this country should have policies, procedures, and training around it. People have died from it. There is no excuse.
A waste of public resources and a nightmare for its victims. Jake Ward, NBC News, Milwaukee.
Up next, bargain prices for high-end products sounds great, but is it too good to be true? I'm taking the hottest new shopping app for a test drive. More NBC News Daily right after this.
Man, Destiny's like, they gave me technical difficulties and said all kinds of crap.
Who's ready to talk?
I don't know if Destiny's gonna go on or not, man. Let's see what he says.
We can't pay any
In
of
the
our
chat,
bills.
he says, he says, I'm just sitting here. He's like, I'm waiting.
Make a podcast about this. We could bring him in on it.
Bring the killer in on what?
The podcast.
So he doesn't, right now, Destiny doesn't know if he's going live or not, but he is talking to his chat. They said technical difficulties joining now, but that was like 5 minutes ago. Hang in there, Destiny. It's fucking Hollywood, bro.
Is it a live interview, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, hang in there with that shit, bro. Just because they said 12 o'clock, this is goddamn Hollywood, baby. Just fucking wait your turn. It's more like a window. You're in like that 12, it's a slot, you know, you're in the 12 o'clock slot. You know, but your segment could be, you know, you could be the very last thing they show. Or you could get cut, but it just depends.
Oh. Gotcha, thought we were gonna see a little pre-recorded one. That's really cool of him to chill with us. Man is nerveless.
He's in his chat. Destiny.gg. Big screen.
NBC News Now.
Still to come on the Channel 2 News. Well, the waters are certainly receding now. Still too close to call.
Lester Holt reporting from the
Ground Zero, as it's being referred to.
It is, in fact, the tasty freedom. The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency. What's the biggest risk right now? Some of the troops who have been promised.
I like watching him slowly lose his hair.
Presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. Here are some resilient folks. Let me get a hint.
And then it was gone. But then it's growing back. It's a miracle.
You all came because you wanted to see a race.
Dude, the Someone has to have that guy in a movie, and he has to be wearing a toupee the whole time.
Now to an NBC News exclusive on the shopping app Temu that's taking the country by storm. The prices, well, they're almost too good to be true, but the question is there actually a hidden cost?
The app is billed as the TikTok of shopping, an interactive and engaging experience designed to keep you coming back for more. But our investigation found the app appeared to break Apple's privacy policy by collecting some user data without their consent. When we shared our reporting with Apple, it resulted in Temu making some big changes.
It's the shopping app at the top of the Google Play and Apple app stores, Temu.
It's a new Amazon type service where you get crazy deals on stuff.
Getting rave reviews on social media.
It's the new wish.com. Pieces of makeup for $30-ish. What? I got them on Temu, baby, for $14.
So how does it work? Well, I just downloaded the Temu app and instantly it's giving me a countdown clock for free shipping.
The race is on and it's easy to see why it's so popular.
Here's a makeup palette similar to the one made by Urban Decay. That one normally sells for $25 to $50. On Temu, it's only $5. Wow, 100 different colors of embroidery thread for just $3.68. So you got Bluetooth earpods. They look like the ones made by Apple, but these are only $8.
And look at this.
Wow, there are full-on wedding gowns for sale for $20 to $30.
Temu says it's able to offer these deals because you're ordering directly from manufacturers, mostly in China, which is why it took 2 weeks for my packages to arrive. Everything is there, and although the quality isn't the greatest, it's not bad.
Well, it's no Vera Wang, but it was under $30.
In total, I got all of this, 20 items, for $251. Patrick Jackson with internet security company Disconnect says those deals could come at a cost.
I think the big problem with the Temu app is users may have a false sense of privacy.
We asked him to analyze how the app works. He discovered that on iPhones, Temu was collecting common types of data, including what kind of device you use and your phone carrier.
Destiny
Patrick,
just said...
when you opened the Temu app and looked at what
he's in the
was
call.
tracking about us, what did you
Destiny's
find?
in the call.
So I found
Here we go.
collecting various data points, but the one that concerned me the most was the IP addresses.
Think of an IP address as a unique identifier for your computer or phone. Jackson says Temu was able to track consumers even if they told it not to, and even when they were not using the app. He doesn't know what they were doing with those IP addresses, but they potentially enabled Temu to link to even more personal information, such as a shopper's browsing and location history, sexual orientation, and political affiliation. We asked Temu about that, and they didn't respond. In a statement to NBC News, Temu says, "We are committed to the privacy."
Oh my God, he's going to be on, man. He's accepted the call.
Information is solely for enhancing our service, and we do not sell it for money. The collection of IP is a common practice in the industry and is fully disclosed and clearly stated in our privacy policy.
Yeah, what was that you were saying again,
comply
Josh?
strictly with App Store rules
about
on
him trolling
user
us?
information. But after we shared the results of our investigation, Apple said Temu was in violation of their app tracking transparency policy, but didn't specify how. They gave Temu 14 days to fix the app or be removed from the App Store. 9 days after we reached out to Apple, Temu updated the app, and Jackson says they are no longer collecting IP addresses. They also made significant changes to their Apple privacy disclosure to inform users they are able to link them to more data.
The merchandise that they sell is inexpensive to a fault. It's dirt cheap, which customers seem to love.
Mark Cohen, a professor at Columbia Business School, says consumers may not have realized that these rock-bottom deals came with a different price tag, their privacy.
We are hardwired to look for deals, bargains, cheap things. It gets our attention.
He says users should be aware of what they're trading when shopping online.
Now, we did ask Apple if they were aware of the Temu policy violations before we reached out, but both Apple and Temu have not responded to our repeated requests for comment since Temu's app update. Jackson said he was unable to launch the Android version of the Temu app, but a Google spokesperson said they do take privacy seriously.
I'll go full
they
screen
also
with
wouldn't tell us if the Temu Google app has violated their policies. But here's the deal, Morgan. Experts say, look, if you want to shop on this or any other website and protect your privacy, go to the actual website over the app, because apps are generally able to collect a lot more information
Than the
about
actual
us
website?
than the actual website. So just go to the website you're interested in.
That is news we can use.
Thank you so much, and you are watching NBC News Daily.
Homicides happen every day in New York City.
Saturdays.
Coney Island was not the safest, but to find a body on a subway train.
Every law enforcement agency from New York is looking for him.
New York City's bravest.
As detectives, we were wondering, is this going to turn into a cold case?
Tackle the Big Apple's most rotten.
The victim was duct taped.
What son of a bitch would shoot a priest?
Here in New York, the city where murder is never sleep.
New York Homicide. New episodes Saturdays at 9. Only on Oxygen True Crime.
They were right. It could have waited. I can't believe it happened to me. Reaching to check my phone. My friend is never going to forgive themselves for asking where I was. Now, my family has to hear from him that I'm never coming home again. I was one of the 8 people killed on Florida's roadways today. Ride with Do Not Disturb every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely.
Your music is so familiar. What do you think when people start humming
Dude,
back your
8
tunes?
people are killed every day on Florida's roads.
How you doing, Lester?
8?
Who's ready to talk murder?
Do we have to wake up to murders every morning?
We can't pay any of our bills. We have a baby on the way.
She is the victim of the West Side Ripper.
What if we make a podcast about this? We could bring him in on it.
Bring the killer in or what?
The podcast. We forced them to do it. No one ever went broke betting on America's obsession with murder. We are in too deep.
We're gonna have a baby in jail.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we
Don't
are.
say
Yes,
that.
we are.
It's Josh G. Did he specify the context of the interview, or has he kept it to himself?
No, it's about the Supreme Court. He put up he's put up a JPEG image showing that he's doing the SCOTUS Supreme Court reaction.
Seconds can matter between life and death.
Lifeguard rescue 300, cardiac arrest.
Everybody back up. Back everybody up.
There's no pulse and they're not breathing.
We got you.
Statuses are cleared. Go to flash.
I can turn it up too.
You all came because you wanted to see a race.
You are going to love this story. After struggling to have their own baby for years, a Florida couple became a family when one adorable baby was placed in a fire station's Safe Haven baby box.
Today, co-host Hoda Kotb introduces us to the happy family who is grateful that Dad was at work that day at the firehouse, and they have a heartfelt message for that baby's birth mom.
There you go.
Meet baby Zoe, Vincent and Katie's precious bundle of joy. A sweet little girl they call their own miracle.
It's a gift from God, is all it is. There's nothing else to explain it.
Nearly 6 months ago, Vincent showed up for work on a day that would change his life forever. He's a firefighter in Ocala, Florida, and was pulling his regular 24-hour shift. At 2 a.m., an alarm went off. He recognized the sound immediately. A newborn had been placed at his station's Safe Haven baby box, a device that allows a mother in crisis to safely and anonymously surrender a child. Vincent said the moment he opened that box, his whole world changed.
I opened the box and there she is. I picked her up. She wasn't crying. As soon as we locked eyes, that was it. I was in love with her.
Vincent's training kicked in. Per Ocala Fire and Rescue standards, he helped deliver the baby to the local hospital. He handed her over to the medical staff along with a special note.
I wrote on the note, hello, my name's Vince. I've been working for the fire department for the past 8 years. Me and my wife have been trying to have a family for almost a decade now. And if given the opportunity, we would like to adopt this baby.
Vincent and his wife Katie first met in the Navy and got married in 2016. For years, they struggled with infertility.
We just wanted to be parents and be able to care for a child. So when he said it was a baby dropped off in the baby box, my head started spinning.
The couple was already registered to adopt in the state of Florida. 2 days later, they were able to take the baby home from the hospital.
I picked her up and I looked at her. She looked at me and she smiled. And that's when I knew that I was in love and that this was my daughter.
From this point on, you are her legal parents.
Then in April, the adoption was finalized.
Our family was complete.
For us to not have to worry and for her to be our daughter legally. For us to not have to worry and for her to be our daughter legally was amazing.
Zoe's parents say their daughter is perfect and already full of personality.
She is the happiest baby.
She's really nosy, though. She does like to see what's going on all times.
The couple has not been in contact with Zoe's birth mom, but wants her to know that Zoe is loved beyond words.
The birth moms are heroes, too.
We needed each other in her moment of crisis, and the way that we were able to help each other was through that baby box.
A beautiful blessing, well worth the wait.
Never in my wildest dreams would I've ever thought that I would be a dad to a baby, let alone a baby girl.
We never want to take her for granted. We want to be the best parents we could be for her.
Hoda Kotb, NBC News.
Just an incredible. And when she said, me and the birth mom, we needed each other.
In that moment, they came together and they just wanted to be parents. So hopefully that birth mom sees this and knows her baby is loved beyond measure.
Hey, this world can be a beautiful place if you let it. Here's what is trending now. Speaking of babies, supermodel Naomi Campbell is now a mom of 2. The fashion icon announced the news on Instagram today, sharing a photo showing her holding hands with her 2-year-old daughter and newborn baby. Campbell, who is 53 years old, captioned the photo saying, "It's never too late to become a mother."
We are happy for her. Pepsi is launching a new soda-infused ketchup. Yes, you heard us right.
Did I?
Yeah, I know.
Soda-infused
July
ketchup.
4th, fans of the soda brand will be able to add the drink's signature flavor to their food. The new condiment is going to be called Kolachup. I need a better, it doesn't have the best ring to it, but it's a collaboration between Pepsi and the Culinary Institute of America. The beverage company says it is ideal for hot dogs, Morgan.
We will see. And speculation surrounding a potential UFC fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg it's getting even weirder, guys. Earlier today, TMZ reported that an Italian government official reached out to the tech giants to suggest the fight be held inside Rome's ancient Colosseum. Now, fans out.
Great idea. I love
Musk
it.
and Zuckerberg duke it out in the same fight as ancient Roman gladiators.
Go Zuck. Go Zuck. Go Zuck. I want to go train with Zuck, man. Get him all tough. Show him how to throw some elbows. Want him to destroy Musk's face. I want him to just pulverize that dude. Supreme Court. Come on now. Where's Destiny at? Destiny. Expand its Supreme Court. Man, make this kid sit here for freaking a whole hour. Alan Aachen died. Alan Aachen.
It's Josh G. Wonder if he gets paid to wait.
No. He doesn't get paid to wait. He gets paid for an appearance. If they're paying him for an appearance. Which it might be part of his kick contract, who knows?
I'm Gotti Schwartz, and here are the stories we're watching tonight. Storms keep coming here in California. Some of the big headlines trending like crazy on social media. This is what my voice sounds like when I clone it. That wasn't me. You gotta see this. Stay tuned now, weeknights on NBC News Now.
Hey, podcast fans, ready to unlock our true crime mysteries? Try Dateline Premium on Apple Podcasts. You'll get early access to originals, plus bonus content, and everything is ad-free.
Look at the bonus content right here. Hey, look at that bonus. I got a bonus
Hey
for
there,
you,
everyone.
pal.
We are so glad you could join us this Friday. I'm Morgan Radford.
I'm Vicki Wynn. NBC News Daily starts right now.
Starting with Destiny, though.
Today is Friday, June 30th, Decision Day. The Supreme Court blocked
Here we
President
go.
Biden's signature student loan forgiveness plan on its final day of the term. We'll tell you how the steps the White House is now taking to keep its promise.
Hot and humid. An oppressive heat wave is stretching across the South, with some cities expected to reach a real feel of 120 degrees. We have your holiday weekend weather forecast and tips for staying cool.
Major breakthrough. Prosecutors say they have new evidence in the 2017 murders of 2 Indiana teens. More on the suspect's alleged confession from jail that could crack a 6-year-old cold case.
Pride progress. It's been a mixed bag for the LGBTQ community in the ongoing fight for equal rights. Where things stand in states across the country on the heels of a landmark Supreme Court ruling.
Thanks for joining us and welcome to NBC News Daily. We start right now with that landmark ruling from the Supreme Court today on President Biden's sweeping student debt relief plan. Now, in a 6-3 decision, the court's conservative majority rejected the program, saying it's unconstitutional and that the president overstepped his authority.
The policy would have canceled up to $20,000 in student loan debt for more than 40 million borrowers. The total estimated cost of that program would have been a whopping $400 billion. The majority sided with attorneys general in 6 Republican-led states who challenged Biden's plan. They argued the president did not have the authority to use a 2003 law to erase some student debt. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba is following it all for us. Monica, good to see you this Friday. So President Biden just issued a statement on this decision, and he is expected to speak later this afternoon. Break down what we've heard from him so far.
That's right, Vicki and Morgan. The president will be delivering formal remarks on this in the next couple of hours. And he said in the most plain terms in this lengthy statement that the fight is not over for these millions of borrowers who now have been dealt this immense setback. The president is going to be announcing some executive actions and new steps later today when he speaks. But also in this lengthy statement, he said simply he believes this decision to strike down the student debt relief plan is wrong, and he promises that he will stop at nothing to find other ways to deliver relief to hardworking middle-class families, and says his administration is going to continue to work to bring the promise of higher education to every American. Now, in this statement, the president is making the point that 90% of the relief from this plan would have gone to people making less than $75,000 a year. So just to put it into perspective here. And so I think we are going to hear a little bit more from the president and his severe disappointment in this decision, similar to some of the remarks we heard yesterday after that affirmative action ruling. And this has really been about a 24-hour period where the White House has now been disappointed by 3 straight decisions from this conservative majority court.
Speaking of which, Monica, how are things on the Hill at this point? What are lawmakers saying?
So many Republicans are cheering this decision, saying it's a win for taxpayers who would have had to foot the bill
way
for
over
what
1,900,
the estimate
guys.
would have been something like $400 billion to cover this debt relief forgiveness. But Democrats are saying this is a simply cruel decision that is completely unfair to the youngest people in this country who for years have been paying off this student debt. So you're seeing both responses from both sides of the aisle here, and I think you can expect there to be this continued suggestion that there have to be other ways Democrats are going to argue to try to help people who are feeling now that the courts have rolled back things they would like guaranteed for them that the president promised as a candidate as well. Morgan,
things they were expecting. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba live from Washington. Monica, thank you.
All right, we actually want to bring in NBC News business and data. No, we're going to go to Shaq Brewster. All right, Shaq, hey. So the Biden administration estimated that its plan would wipe all federal student loan debt out for about 20 million borrowers, as Monica just mentioned. What are you hearing now from people with loans today? How are they reacting?
Well, I'm hearing from some folks words like they're saddened, like they're devastated, saying that this decision is crushing for them. Remember, you have about 26 million people who put in an application for this relief. About 16 million people were approved, so they thought they were getting some forgiveness once the court approved this program. So for them, this is going to impact how their day-to-day budget is, what money they have at the end of the month. However, that's not everyone. There is lots of opposition to this. That's why it got up to the Supreme Court. I want you to listen to some of the arguments from those who are opposed to this relief.
I understand that situation of the government stepping in to help out, but in my perspective, if you got yourself into the situation, it's on you to pay it off. I didn't have that opportunity. That opportunity presents itself to future, but the government being in debt as much as it is, I think that's going to be hard on the taxpayers.
Definitely mixed emotions there, but strong emotions based on who you talk to.
I mean, Shaq, this is a lot on the table, a ton of money for a lot of students. What's next? I mean, what does this ruling mean if you were one of those students who were banking on this relief plan?
Well, starting October 1st, those loan repayments should begin. And that's unless we hear something from the president. But the Education Department put out some guidance saying that payments will resume on October 1st. Those loans will start collecting interest again in September. The one part of this as well, there was one person I talked to who connected this to yesterday's decision connected to affirmative action. And the one thing we know from these loans is that Black borrowers have the highest average student loan debt when you look at the federal system. When you add in gender there, Black women have that largest average of student loan debt. So when you combine the impacts of both of these rulings, there was a lot of frustration that I heard from people. But bottom line, President Biden, he tried to waive these loans. He tried to clear these loans through executive action. But the Supreme Court saying today that he didn't have that power to do that, Morgan.
No, I'm glad that you brought up the cross-section there, because even though these cases are separate, the impact, of course, is related.
Yeah, disproportionate. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster. Shaq, thank you so much.
NBC News business and data reporter Brian Chung joins us now. Brian, what does this mean for everyday people? I mean, how does this sort of impact people financially?
Yeah, Morgan, Vicki, well, when we talk about the household level impact, this could have saved a few $100s per month for a lot of those that would have had their debt forgiven. Now, it's going to differ, obviously, depending on the type of degree that you took, the type of student loan that you took, but you can see the full screen ahead of you. If you're a nurse that had a bachelor's degree, that monthly savings for you would have been $234, which for an annual amount would have saved you about $2,800. So that's money that's essentially no longer available because of what the Supreme Court did. Now, when it comes to the aggregate numbers, there were 43 million borrowers that would have been eligible for this program. And actually, when in the narrow time that the Department of Education had its portal open, they already had accepted about 16 million applications. So Americans had basically gotten the email confirmation from the DOE that they would have had it forgiven, no longer available, and that money essentially is no longer a part of their wallets.
Brian, let's talk about what people can do now. If, in fact, these payments resume October 1st, that's 3 months away.
How is it not available if it's debt? What a concept for me.
Yeah, well, again, Shaq was laying out that there's a bit of uncertainty here because even though the payments will be resuming effective October 1st, we don't know if the Department of Education through the Biden administration will create some sort of transitional plan. So one example for what this could look like, again, we haven't seen a proposal yet, is that the interest payments would begin, but you could still miss the principal payments without taking any sort of hit to your credit score. Again,
which would help a little bit,
which would help a little bit. They would call that maybe like a grace period of some sort, but we don't know if that's what the Biden administration is going to do, although they tease that they're going to take some action. But either way, Americans should be prepared to resume those payments after over 3 years of payment freezes. They're going to have to start to fork up again. So to budget out for that is very important.
Yeah. All right, NBC's Brian Chung for us. Brian, as always, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Turning now to our CNBC Money Minute, as millions of Americans get ready to travel this 4th of July weekend, they might feel some relief finally at the gas pump.
Right.
The average price for regular gas dropped to $3.55 a gallon yesterday. That's according to AAA.
Our CNBC correspondent Kate Rogers is here to break it all down. Kate, we know that gas prices are a lot cheaper than they were just this time last year, but why? Why are we seeing these drops, and where are the biggest drops?
Well, Morgan and Vicky, gas prices could be tumbling for a few reasons. Now, at the national level, prices have plunged due to worries about the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes. Globally, it appears that Russia's oil exports have not been impacted by the war in Ukraine or sanctions. For now, all 50 states are enjoying lower gas prices, with Indiana, Ohio, California, and Illinois actually having the biggest drops over the past year. On to Apple reaching a record high of $3 trillion market cap as the market opened. That's according to CNBC's most recent share count. Investors will watch to see if Apple closes above the level, as it failed to do so in January 2022. The stock is up more than 45% year to date. And summer jobs are getting more competitive, and so are the salaries. Applications are up 40% compared to last year, according to ZipRecruiter. Seasonal workers can now expect to be making more this summer, with event managers and parks maintenance workers earning more than $30 an hour on average. Tutors and sports coordinators averaging hourly pay in the mid-20s. That is a lot higher than what I made during my summer job back at Dairy Queen in New Jersey quite a few years ago at this point, guys.
What was your wage then, Kate?
Oh gosh, I want to say it was under 10 an hour, maybe around 10.
Oh, I think I made like
these salaries are really going up.
Yeah, it's good to see my first hostess job, not much more.
CNBC correspondent Kate Rogers. Thank you, Kate.
And still ahead, traffic, flight delays, air quality concerns. We're going to tell you how millions of Americans will be trying to cope with mounting headaches this holiday weekend. You're watching NBC News Daily.
Wow. Huh. So are they doing a commercial? Oh yeah. They'll return in 2.5 minutes, it says. What's gonna happen? I'm just sitting here waiting. If Desi's gonna be on NBC, I want to see that shit. $30 seconds. Unreal. 15 seconds, here we go.
Ready to unlock our true crime mysteries? Try Dateline Premium on Apple Podcasts. You'll get early access to originals, plus bonus content, and everything is ad-free. So head to Apple Podcasts now to subscribe.
We are back now this Friday. AAA predicts 4th of July travel will shatter previous records. They estimate nearly 51 million Americans plan to travel 50 miles or more from home this weekend, setting a new record for the holiday. Most people will be driving to their destinations, but airports are expecting to see the highest number of passengers in nearly 2 decades. NBC News correspondent George Solis is live at Liberty Newark International Airport in New Jersey. George, several parts of the U.S. under severe weather alerts, so that is never good for flights across the U.S. What are you hearing about from travelers about their travel right now?
Yeah, Vicky, a lot of travelers frustrated, especially those that have been delayed a couple of hours. Some, in worst cases, have been delayed days. We're expecting that record travel along the skyways and highways today and throughout the 4th of July weekend. Many travelers trying to remain optimistic, but here at Newark Liberty International, it's been United that's been causing the most headache for travelers. They have seen the most significant cancellations. The airline says they have seen significant improvement. The overall cancellation rate across all airlines has been steadily declining, but still, when you look at it across the board and you factor in all the thousands and hundreds of delays and cancellations, it is no wonder that a number of travelers are frustrated and have been taking it out on the airline, some of the staff, and the airline for their part are doing what they can to help a lot of these stranded passengers, but you have to factor in, of course, the record number of people traveling. I want you to take a listen to a quick conversation I had with a guy who has been stuck here and is hopefully looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, but even he remains skeptical. Take a listen.
When we got here last night, they say, well, the first flight was Sunday night, but I can give you 1 night at the hotel. So I say, hold on a minute, because the disruption created by you, now it's going to cost me money.
Yeah, so hopefully, fingers crossed that he makes it to his destination, and that's kind of been my message to a lot of the travelers here today. I wish them well. I myself got caught in a delay a few days ago. Wasn't nearly as bad as what we're seeing. So, again, when you expect to travel during this time, you kind of have to accept and roll with the punches to an extent, guys.
George, we got the air travelers covered. What about the bulk of the people who are driving this weekend? What do they need to know before they hit the road?
That's right. Some 43 Americans hitting the road today, at least 50 miles from their home. The key thing here is when to make sure you get out of your home or wherever you are staying. Generally speaking, anytime early in the morning or anytime after 6. Of course, through the weekend, you're going to see minimal traffic because people are hopefully celebrating. And then on the return, July 4th itself, worst travel times between noon and 3, anytime before 11 a.m. after 6 p.m. And on Wednesday, if you're still out, 3 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, worst time to travel, anytime before 2 p.m.
It's Josh
is
G.
when you want to
Was
get
it always
on the
this
road.
way on the 4th?
Of course, we can only wish
I
people
guess I was
have a
just
safe
young
and
and didn't
productive
notice.
holiday weekend. But again, the way things are looking, some people are definitely going to be in good company as they travel. Guys.
All right, NBC News correspondent George Solis live at Newark Liberty International Airport for us. Thank you.
Well, Vicki, George, speaking of those delays, millions of people are under severe weather alerts as we head into the holiday weekend. Damaging hail and wind threaten parts of the Midwest, while parts of the Mid-Atlantic deal with poor air quality conditions from that wildfire smoke. That blistering heat dome, it's not letting up. 64 million people across the Southwest and the Gulf Coast, they're under excessive heat warnings today, which many areas are expected to see temperatures that exceed 110-degree heat indexes. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson is live for us from New Orleans. Priscilla, good to see you. I know you're probably hot out there. New Orleans is just one of the cities expecting triple-digit heat indexes today. What are you hearing from people there? I mean, how are they sort of coping?
Yeah, Morgan, I just saw a man running along the river here. It is about 94 degrees right now. I will tell you, he is an anomaly. He is not the norm.
He's a hero.
Most folks that we're seeing out here, he is a hero, but also this is one of the things that officials are warning about. People thinking, oh, it's the heat isn't that bad. I can still go about and do the things that I've been doing. And officials are saying, no, this is extreme heat and people really do need to be careful. And I will tell you, most people that I have seen are not exerting that much energy. They're walking, they are wearing their hats, their sunscreen, they're drinking lots of water, which are all the things that people need to be doing right now as we are talking about a heat index that feels like 116, 120. hotter here with triple-digit temperatures. But the good news for folks here in the South, there is some relief on the way. Those temperatures are expected to tick down a little bit into this weekend. But bad news for our friends in the West who are going to be seeing excessive heat warnings in Arizona and California through Monday. Morgan?
Now, Priscilla, if people do plan to be outside this holiday weekend, particularly there in the South, I mean, what should they sort of keep in mind?
Yeah, you've got folks who are planning to head out to the beach. Here in New Orleans, there are hundreds of thousands of people coming in for Essence Fest who may not be used to this record-setting heat. And so one thing, if you're outside, you want to make sure that you're wearing cool, loose-fitting clothing so that you can get some air through there. Make sure you're wearing sunscreen, hats, drinking that water. And if you can, try to get in the air condition, whether that is a restaurant or the home, whatever it might be, try to get in as much AC as you can. And if you feel like you're having heat issues or you feel like someone around you is really struggling, seek medical attention immediately. Morgan?
All right.
Oh my God, look at Ethereum, guys. Holy shit.
In New Orleans, Priscilla, thank you.
Still ahead, breaking down the impact of another major Supreme Court ruling. You are watching NBC News Daily.
Break it down with, let's break it down with Destiny. What the hell happened here? Oh. I went to the wrong page, sorry. Little jam right here, man. I'm digging it. I could rock my electric guitar with that shit.
Fire has grown leaps and bounds. What you see behind me is typical. How you doing?
Pretty bad.
Our world is facing some complex issues. Meet the Press Reports breaks them down, exploring and explaining the critical stories that affect our
critical
Fridays
story.
at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, streaming on
So
NBC
critical.
News Now.
Critical to your life.
News for the generation of now.
Critical
It's
Destiny.
NBC
Destiny's
News
Critical. Coming on now.
All right, so police officers are retiring at record rates across the country, leaving departments really struggling to recruit and to retain qualified people.
Yeah, many are now offering never-before-seen compensation packages to fill openings. I took a closer look at what this means for public safety and the state of policing in America.
It's a 911 moment in law enforcement, with police departments nationwide losing officers.
Well, it's nowhere near as dangerous, which is awesome.
After 5 years with Chicago PD, Officer Justin Lawler joined the force in Palm Springs, California.
Life out here is very different.
He says lingering health effects from being stabbed on the job in 2020 and ongoing tension between the public and police prompted him to leave the Windy City.
Everybody just wants to tell you that you're a pig. They want to announce all these bad words to you. And I'm honestly just trying to help people. But coming out here in Palm Springs and like this city, the police are respected.
What role did the incentives play in you choosing Palm Springs?
The incentives, they did play a good part because, I mean, it was a big benefit over the other desert cities, and that being close to the LA area.
Palm Springs Chief Andrew Mills says the department offers bonuses and factors in time served in its pay packages to recruit experienced officers. What are the reasons that officers are giving you for why they're leaving some of these bigger cities?
You know, it's all individual, and this was a horribly tremendous experience over the last few years where you had COVID, the uncertainty of whether or not you're going to come home because of that, and then rolling that right into a lot of social unrest. I think that they're looking for that community where they see support.
He says policing in 2023 is a tougher job than it's ever been, as officers are expected to deal with social issues such as mental illness and homelessness.
Right now, the police are the only ones here to handle things that are incumbent on all of society. And I've got a 24-year-old kid with a BA degree or maybe a high school education trying to solve problems that PhDs can't solve.
This is really a problem that is in every corner of the United States.
Ian Adams is a professor of criminology and criminal justice at the University of South Carolina. He says experienced officers are leaving larger departments for smaller ones, though it's difficult to pinpoint how many. Some factors for the exodus include record retirement numbers and quality of life concerns. Some officers we spoke to say efforts to defund the police following the deaths of George Floyd and Tyree Nichols also weigh on them.
Policing is indeed facing a staffing crisis that it hasn't really seen in modern history.
An NBC News analysis of FBI data shows officer counts fell 2.3% from 2019 to 2022. It's prompting agencies to compete for the best officers with new incentives. New Orleans PD offering a $20,000 hiring bonus for experienced officers. North Las Vegas Police offering $30,000 and $5,000 for moving costs.
Wow.
Officers who are military vets get another $5,000 to sign. The city of Alameda in Northern California offering a $75,000 hiring bonus to both transfers and academy graduates. That's on top of a starting salary of $110,000. Compare that to NYPD, which recently raised its base salary to $55,000. The staffing shortage is also a matter of timing. Some 100,000 officers hired under the 1994 Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act are now retiring. What does that mean for public safety in the cities where these officers are leaving?
It has horrible effects on public safety. When you have large numbers of officers leaving our cities that are most in need right now, following record increases in homicide and other forms of violent crime in the last few years, obviously we have a public safety problem.
And think about this, the majority of police departments in the United States actually have fewer than 100 officers, so losing even a few can have a major impact on the communities that they serve. And Adams told us that it costs about $130,000 to train an academy graduate into an officer who can take a 911 call. And most officers, many leave before 5 years.
Really?
So this is a problem in retaining them.
Becomes a sunk cost.
Absolutely, a second cost. Exactly.
Wow. All right. Well, Vicki, that was awesome. Still ahead, a sailor saved after being stranded in the middle of the ocean.
It's Josh
We'll
G.
take you inside the dramatic
If police
rescue.
were
You're
paid
watching
more, do you
NBC
think
News Today. And
brutality
remember,
would decrease
you can watch
any?
us for free, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on our streaming network, NBC News Now, wherever you stream. That's like YouTube, Hulu, Roku, Peacock. Your news continues right after this.
So groovy. I really like their music. Eating a salad, listening to groovy jazz.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Gotti Schwartz. Here are the stories we're following tonight. Storms keep coming here in California. The U.S. government just declassified this video. A lot more stories trending like crazy on social media. A controversy pitting lawmakers against young voters. What's the state of crypto today? What is going on when we're looking at trends there? Another mind-bending story on artificial intelligence. This is what my voice sounds like when I clone it. That wasn't me. You gotta see this. Stay tuned now. Weeknights at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on NBC News Now.
We're back on this Friday, so glad you're with us. I'm Vicki Wynn.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Morgan Radford. Here's what's making news right now. The Chinese spy balloon that flew over the U.S. earlier this year was built using commercially available American-made technology. That's all according to sources familiar with the early findings from the FBI. This all comes as the Pentagon also confirms that the balloon did not collect any information. It flew over the U.S. for a week in February before it was shot down by the military, sparking tensions with China.
A man who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th has been arrested outside of Barack Obama's home. Police say Taylor Taranto was found running toward the former president's D.C. residence with multiple weapons and materials to make explosives. The 37-year-old had made threats against public figures on several recent live streams and had an open warrant on charges related to the January 6th riot.
And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s last living sibling, Christine King, Ferris, has died. Her death was announced by her niece, Bernice King, on Twitter. Ferris spent her life working to promote her brother's life and legacy following his assassination back in 1968. She was 95 years old.
A busy day at the Supreme Court today. In addition to ruling against Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, justices also issued a second major ruling, this one on a case that pits freedom of speech protections against same-sex equality rights.
In a 6-3 vote, the court ruled in favor of a Colorado-based web designer who argued that a state law violated her freedom of speech by forcing her to design a wedding website for a same-sex couple. We have team coverage on this breaking story from all angles. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra is following the reaction to this decision. Then we have NBC News legal analyst Annie Savalos, who's here to break down what this all means for us.
Hell,
Marissa,
man? Where's
first
Justin?
to you. You're there in our DC newsroom. I know that you spoke with the plaintiff, Lori Smith, shortly after the court's decision just earlier this morning. What did she say, and what have we heard? What did we hear essentially from the court's majority opinion?
Yeah, so we'll start with Lori Smith's reaction, because we spoke to her first right after that decision was dropped, and right after they had a chance to comb through, she and her attorney both, that decision. And so she said in short that she is thrilled. She believes that this allows her and others to keep her right to free speech and religious expression.
From day one, all I've wanted is to speak consistent with my beliefs, and I want that for everyone. I want that for the LGBT website designer, the Democrat speechwriter, the Jewish calligrapher, the pro-life photographer, and I'm grateful for the court for affirming that the government can't force anyone to say something they don't believe. Today is truly a victory for each and every one of us.
Now, there's a lot to unpack here, a lot to get to. Remember, she has said that she understands, she believes as a web designer that she is an artist, that the creations that she makes online are her creative expression, and therefore she has that right to free speech. And so you mentioned that 6-3 division. We saw the majority opinion written by Neil Gorsuch, who wrote, in quote, in part, Colorado seeks to force an individual to speak in ways that align with its views but defy her conscience about a matter of major significance. But we did see dissent, including from Justice Sotomayor, and we heard her say, in part, quote, today, the court for the first time in its history grants a business open to the public a constitutional right to refuse to serve members of a protected class, adding that the decision allowing Smith to continue to sell her product only to opposite sex couples when it comes to web design for weddings, quote, makes a mockery of the law, adding that this is also coming at a time when the LGBTQ community feels like they're under attack with sweeping legislation across the country.
Marissa, let's stay right there. This case pitted gay rights against free speech at the very end of Pride Month. How is the LGBTQ community reacting?
I mean, you can imagine this is something that the community feels at large through speaking and reading through online a lot of reaction, that it's not surprising, but nonetheless disappointing. So we had a chance to speak with the legal director with Gender Justice, who explains why a lot of the community is feeling like this is coming at a time when the community is already feeling down.
And I want to bring
the opinion was not surprising, but it was disappointing. It's really hard to see the majority of the court strike such a blow for anti-discrimination law. No one really wants to go about their lives thinking, if I go to this place, if I go to this restaurant, if I go to this store, am I going to be turned away for who I am? And the court seems to say, well, that's just, a part of life.
And I will add quickly on the other end of this, remember, there are 29 other states around the country who have similar laws that are similar to the one that Lori Smith sued against, that anti-discrimination law in Colorado. So there are a lot of questions within the legal community, the LGBTQ community, what happens in those 29 other states moving forward.
Marissa, I want to turn to Danny and bring him in here as well. Danny, a lot of us who are following this are sort of getting whiplash. It sounds very familiar from the Supreme Court case we heard back in 2018 when it ruled that a Colorado baker had the right to refuse to make a wedding cake for a same-sex couple. How is this case different?
Well, in a sense, they're very similar because they both deal with compelled speech. And that was the key here. As long as the court decided that this was not a sale, that it involved speech, then the path to ruling in favor of the web designer was pretty clear. Once you got to speech land, then the essence of the case is that by being forced to design a website for somebody, the government is essentially forcing this person to endorse a particular kind of speech. Very interesting, Justice Sotomayor pointed out, though, that this is essentially a slippery slope, and so did Justice Jackson, that this is the kind of thing that could easily turn into really a thinly veiled discrimination against the person who comes into the store and not the message.
Right. That's exactly right. Walk us through that. What's the difference between speech, a service, or an actual product? Can business owners start to use this as precedent to deny goods and services to other groups and individuals they may not agree with?
Yes and no. For example, if you own a coffee shop, it's pretty clear that when somebody comes in and wants a scone, there's no real free speech going on there. Although maybe you can imagine that custom-made scones would fall into the category of speech. But for the most part, if you're selling cars, widgets, making sales, and including services, whether you're a plumber or an electrician, those are probably not speech. But these gray areas, I think we'll see more litigation in these gray areas.
All right. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas, thank you both so much.
And we have new developments in a 6-year-old cold case. Prosecutors say the man accused of killing 2 Delphi, Indiana teens back in 2017 has confessed to the murders.
Shit.
NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber has the details.
What a
New revelations in the years-long investigation into the murder of 2 young teen girls in Delphi, Indiana. Freshly unsealed court documents allege Richard Allen admitted to killing Abigail Williams and Libby German, quote, no less than 5 times while talking to his wife and his mother on the public jail phones. Back in 2017, the 2 girls went missing while hiking a local trail. 1 day later, their bodies were found in the woods.
I miss you. Please call the tip line.
Police had this video to work with, just a few seconds from Libby's cell phone, of a man hard to identify, but with this chilling audio. Family members pleading with the public to review the video and police sketches. Then, a break.
It's Josh.
Investigators say they
sicko, but a
believe Richard
moronic
Allen
sicko.
is the man in this video. They say in a probable cause affidavit that he told them he was on the trail that afternoon, but denied being involved in the murders. Last October, investigators searched Allen's home. A laboratory analysis determined the unused bullet located near one of the victims had been in the chamber of one of Allen's seized firearms, according to a probable cause affidavit. Within 3 weeks, he was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. The victims' families not ready to rest.
We're going to stay after it. We haven't ever given up.
Allen's lawyers have filed a motion to suppress evidence seized from his home, arguing the affidavit supporting the search warrant was too broad. They also want the laboratory analysis thrown out. But on April 3rd, prosecutors allege Allen called his wife from the Westville Correctional Facility and confessed to the killings. His wife abruptly ended the phone call.
Confessions made on prison phone calls are not only admissible, they are devastating. Juries listen to them and believe them.
The day after the alleged confession, Allen's attorneys visited him in jail. According to court documents, they say, quote, Mr. Allen appeared to be suffering from various psychotic symptoms, which counsel would describe as schizophrenic and delusional. The next day, they filed an emergency motion saying Allen's treatment in custody is infringing on his constitutional rights and asking for their client to be transferred. Ellison Barber, NBC News.
Now to a harrowing story of a man rescued at sea after setting off on what was meant to be a multi-year trip around the world.
Please, this guy.
One man was thrown into survival mode when his boat was overturned by strong waves, leaving him lost in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro has his story.
This is the moment a man lost at sea for 34 days finally made it back on solid ground.
There's our survivor. The man, the myth, the legend.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Aaron Carrata, also known as Adventure Aaron, didn't know that when he sailed off from Panama on his 23-foot vessel dubbed Smiles, it would cost him everything.
I was praying. It was a routine of eat, pray, row. There's some days it doesn't get much better than this. And this is one of those days. I have fair winds and following seas.
At first, his planned multi-year trip was all smiles. Carrata documenting his activities on board, fishing over the bow, making his own pizza, and enjoying the occasional treat.
Beef jerky and rower's champagne. You never know how bad it's going to be. Fingers crossed again. Good luck coming this way, I hope.
But luck would eventually run out. The solar panels on his battery-powered rowboat stopped working, giving him enough power to only post one last video on May 13th for people following his journey online.
I'm not panicking yet. I'm just waiting for these winds to give up.
The rowboat's battery power eventually running empty 97 days after first setting sail.
You did have the emergency beacon. Why wait so long to call for help? Why not call sooner?
Because I was mindful of the Coast Guard and tying up the resources
Rowboat
of
Holy,
other
everyone
people.
is
I had
just
the food I
done these
needed. I had
days.
all the preparation done. I just didn't have power.
For another 33 days all alone, he pressed on, rowing at the mercy of the winds, navigating by compass.
What a dumbass.
Until a wave capsized the boat nearly 1,400 miles off the northeast coast of Tahiti. His life's belongings lost at sea.
When it was upside down, I remember just knowing that my world was officially upside down. I had sold everything I owned to do on this expedition because I didn't want a reason to quit.
Left with only a leaky life raft and surrounded by a shark, he says he finally activated the emergency beacon. The U.S. Coast Guard arriving just 4 hours later to drop off survival supplies.
When I saw that plane coming to my rescue, it was the most beautiful sight. The red and white letters are always remember it in the sky.
A day later, a merchant vessel and Carrata's lifeline appeared.
Wow, that was brilliant thinking, dude.
His friend Jeremy eventually welcoming him to shore.
What did it feel like to see that familiar face?
Pretty good.
Emotional.
Sorry. It's really good. Yeah, I didn't know anybody knew I was missing. I didn't know anything was going on.
Will there be another attempt?
I can't say no. I would be more than happy to jump right back in and do it properly and be mindful and continue to educate people on the safety that you have to take.
Valerie Castro, NBC News.
Up next, the state of Pride. We're looking at where things stand as we close out Pride Month amid pressing concerns across the LGBTQ plus community. More NBC News Daily right after this.
Bring on Destiny.
It's Josh G. Unreal. It's Josh G. Bet he would have taken that submarine ride.
Probably. They're all idiots. Biden said it would be a mistake to try to expand the Supreme Court. He's such a fucking idiot. Women aren't worth it to him.
Our world is facing some complex issues. Meet the Press Reports breaks them down. Join Chuck Todd every week.
Instead of trying to cover a lot of topics in one episode, we're going to focus on one and take a deeper look at how it impacts America.
With expert analysis and in-depth discussions, exploring and explaining the critical stories that affect our future. Meet the Press Reports, Fridays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, streaming on NBC News Now and on demand on Peacock and YouTube.
For Dateline Premium, subscribe now on Apple Podcasts.
All right, here we go.
In today's mental health check, we're taking a look at where things stand on the last day of Pride Month, the progress that's been made, and how far we still have left to go. In fact, just hours ago, the Supreme Court ruled in a case that will allow businesses to deny services to the LGBTQ+ community.
This coming 50 years after protesters at the legendary Stonewall Inn sparked a movement striving for equality. Today, more Americans than ever say they support equal rights for the LGBTQ community. According to a recent study by GLAAD, 84% of non-LGBTQ Americans support equal rights. Joining us now from Los Angeles is psychologist Dr. Gregory Kaysen. Thank you so much for being with us. So the Supreme Court just ruled today services can be denied to members of the LGBTQ+ community if the service provider is protected under free speech. This all coming as a number of states are also banning transgender care. Tell us a little bit more about how this impacts the mental health of this community.
I think this is a very interesting decision. I think if we really look at it in the context of what the Supreme Court has done, is that yesterday they took away the rights for an institution to accept someone based on an unchangeable aspect of themselves, to accept them into their business. And today they said they could discriminate against somebody based on who they are. And we know within the LGBTQ community that 1/3 of people say that these kinds of anti-LGBTQ rules actually have a negative effect on their mental health, and 2/3 of young people say that just hearing about this affects their mental health.
Mm-hmm. And give us a sense, Dr. Greg, I mean, despite the recent setbacks, 84% of Americans say they support the equal rights of the community. What's your take on the progress that's been made when you just look at the last sort of 5 to 10 years?
You know, we've really actually had a great deal of progress in the last 5 to 10 years. Actually, there's an interesting statistic that I found that about 40% of households actually are affirming toward their LGBTQ children. That may not sound like a lot, but it used to be nearly none. So it's really kind of an exciting advancement that we actually have this. We also have marriage equality, which was a huge advancement. Mm-hmm. We have gender affirming care that's going on. We also have many other openness in institutions, in businesses, and in schools, and other things that allow people to have equal rights.
And that is a powerful number, 84% on the screen of people who support rights for the community. Talk to us, doctor, about the treatment that patients are getting now with regard to mental health. You're seeing a shift.
Yeah, you know, it's actually, we used to actually treat people who are LGBTQ, trans people, gay people, to try to reorient them to become either cisgender or to become heterosexual. So instead of doing that, now we're affirming who they are, because in doing that, we actually help their mental health rather than negatively affect them and give them trauma for life from doing that kind of therapy, that old type of therapy. But now we actually help people, and it affects their depression, their anxiety, trauma relief, and they actually have happier and healthier lives, and so do the people around them.
Psychologist Dr. Gregory Kaysen. Dr. Greg, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and your expertise. And to our viewers, you are watching NBC News Daily.
Dude, nothing but advertisements. I cannot believe this is television, bro. It's like advertisement every 3 minutes. Oh my God. Really lame bullshit. Dude, it's like this chocolate lollipop, bro. I can't like open it. Like, it's like I'm looking for like a tool. I just use my lighter. Like instead of super hard plastic. So I'm gonna use. Oh wait, what's this? Oh, I got it. It's like a flip-flop. It's like from the beach, you know, man. No chocolate, bro. Biden's an idiot. He's a fucking mistake.
Hey, I'm Hallie. It's good to be with you tonight. The debt ceiling. Here's why this matters. Please don't have your eyeballs glaze over. Here's why this matters. Talk to us about what we're supposed to call this. Is it a bailout? Is it a backstop? There's a difference because it matters whose money is being used to prop up these banks. We think we're getting close to this news conference. I will be honest with people. This is like an awkward moment where we think we're like right there. You're going to have to like tap dance with us maybe a little bit. I do have my tap dancing shoes on, not to worry.
YouTuber under fire.
YouTube star Colleen Ballinger, better known by her online persona Miranda Sings, is facing backlash over recent accusations surrounding her alleged inappropriate relationships with some underage fans. Now, a new video is landing the content creator in even more hot water. NBC News correspondent Stephen Romo has the story.
Hey, it's been a while since I saw my face.
YouTuber Colleen Ballinger, perhaps best known for her alter ego Miranda Sings, posting her first video after a 3-week hiatus, responding to accusations surrounding her alleged inappropriate relationship with underage fans.
I'm not a predator, even though a lot of you think so.
The allegations were first raised by former fan turned YouTuber Adam McIntyre, who says the two shared an inappropriately close relationship when he was a young teen.
I realized that at 14 years old, I was talking to a 30-year-old about her sex life.
In videos posted online, McIntyre says he was in private group chats with Ballinger, where she allegedly sent messages about his sexual preferences, virginity, and overshared about her own personal life.
My parents started getting a little bit more cautious.
McIntyre first brought up the accusations in a YouTube video 3 years ago. Ballinger responding at the time with a video saying she meant things as a joke, and a lot of them were taken out of context.
And wow.
But Adam is not the only fan who says he had a similar experience.
It's embarrassing to say and to admit, but it's true. I would have done anything for those people.
Johnny Silvestri is a former employee and fan of Ballinger.
Hello, everyone.
crunch on East Lawn.
Silvestri says he consistently video chatted and texted with Ballinger in a group chat with other minors while he was a freshman in high school. He says Ballinger would vent to them about her relationship problems in a chat that required a sexual word as the password to enter.
We're adults now, and we know better now. We don't want it to happen to other children.
Neither Ballinger nor McIntyre responded to multiple NBC News requests for comment about her latest video. But McIntyre did tweet his response to Ballinger's recent upload, saying in part, quote, "I'm glad her video did one thing, show you all exactly the type of evil woman she is."
Stephen Romo, NBC News.
Bumper-to-bumper crosstown traffic is going to take on a whole new meaning this holiday weekend in Chicago. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch shows us how NASCAR's Signature Cup Series is shifting gears for its first ever street race.
When you think of NASCAR, you might have something like this in mind. Souped-up cars flying around an oval racetrack, but this sport's shifting in a new direction. Chicago's iconic lakefront transforming to host the first ever street race for NASCAR's Marquee Cup Series.
One block, you're like, all right, something's going on, and then you get closer and you're like, oh man, this is wild.
Ross Chastain will be one of 40 drivers racing Sunday along what NASCAR says is a 2.2-mile 12-turn track built on Windy City roadways.
There's actually some elevation dip probably here for some drainage or water drainage. Oh yeah, the road,
kind of slopes.
Yep. We're going to be doing over 120 miles an hour right here. You're going to feel that.
Okay.
NASCAR Senior Vice President Ben Kennedy took us for a much slower spin Thursday on the unfinished tight turn track.
You're going to have heavy acceleration areas and really heavy braking areas.
Street racing may be new to NASCAR's Cup Series.
Can he do it as he comes across the line?
But it's already ingrained in motorsports like Formula One, which has seen its popularity surge in the U.S.
Is this something you need to do to keep up?
You know, it's something that's really been a part of our bigger plan at NASCAR, but this is really an opportunity for us to bring NASCAR racing to our fans in Chicago, but then also introduce it to a lot of new people.
I think we're going to see a lot of really tight racing with the tight walls especially.
Sunday's race and another tomorrow are both airing on networks owned by NBC News' parent company. Cars will be speeding through Chicago's Grant Park, home to former President Obama's historic 2008 election night, the Lollapalooza Music Festival, and now auto racing history.
Michigan Avenue is going to have race cars on it.
It's insane. It's crazy. And Lakeshore, it's just crazy. Yeah, because it's always bumper to bumper, and you don't even get to get to 5 miles an hour, and they're going to be racing.
Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
I'm Vicki Wynn.
I'm Morgan Radford, and you are watching NBC News Daily. Remember, you can always watch us for free 24/7 on our streaming network, NBC News Now, wherever you stream. YouTube, Hulu, Roku, your news continues right now.
What the fuck happened to Destiny, man? Supreme Court kills Biden student debt relief plan. Invalidated President Joe Biden's student loan debt relief plan. Exactly why Biden doesn't care about having that Supreme Court the way it is, because it's doing exactly what he really wants it to do. So he can act one way, but have the results another. You look at a politician's results. Don't look at what they attempt. Look what they accomplish. That's what you have to do with Biden. Fucking piece of shit. You're a fucking piece of shit. Nobody's even doing it like that anymore, pal. know it. Changes rules on use of force. Whatever. Hey, we got some new guidelines. That's gonna fix everything. We got new guidelines.
I'm Gotti Schwartz, and here are the stories we're watching tonight. Storms keep coming here in California. Some of the big headlines trending like crazy on social media. This is what my voice sounds like when I clone it. That wasn't me. You gotta see this. Stay tuned now, weeknights on NBC News Now.
I hate them dumb bitches. Hate all them bitches. Fucking hate them all. Fuck off.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ellison Barker.
I'm Morgan Radford. So glad you could join us this Friday. NBC News Daily starts right now.
Where's Destiny?
Today, Friday, June 30th, 2023.
Breaking news, Supreme decisions, the nation's highest court issuing rulings on 2 high-profile cases. The justices striking down President Biden's student loan forgiveness program and then dealing a blow to LGBTQ plus rights. The reaction now pouring in from both sides of the aisle.
Ready or not, millions of Americans headed out for the 4th with record crowds at the airports
Put
and
Destiny on, you cockers.
Severe storms, sweltering
What's wrong
heat,
with you?
and smoke-filled skies, all a major travel concern. We'll have everything you need to know for your holiday weekend.
And strike 2, Hollywood actors preparing to join writers on the picket line with a looming midnight deadline. How a strike could impact the summer movie season.
It is 11 a.m. in San Francisco, 1 p.m. in Austin, and 2 p.m. here in New York. We're going to begin with breaking news from Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court issuing 2 major decisions on the final day of its term.
First, the justices striking down President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan in a decision that will impact an estimated 43 million Americans. Now, in a 6-3 ruling, the court agreed with 6 states, which argued the administration exceeded its authority, that it simply didn't have the power. President Biden tweeting a short time ago calling the ruling unthinkable. The president added, "This fight is not over. I'll have more to announce when I address the
Whatever,
nation this
dude. You fight began the day you got into office.
Also ruling in favor
And you
of
didn't
a
do
Colorado
anything to
web
stop
designer
it.
who did
You
not
wrote
want to
no
create a
legislation. You
wedding
didn't get
website for
anybody on
same-sex
board.
couples. It's a
You
case
didn't fucking
that has broad
reach across
implications
the
on
aisle.
free speech
You're a piece of
and
fucking human
LGBTQ
garbage.
plus rights.
As you
You're
can imagine, we are
fucking
covering every
ineffective.
single angle of these rulings, from the
Impotent.
legal and political fallout to the impact on real people. We begin with NBC News correspondent Julia Ainsley, who is live for us outside the Supreme Court on the student loan relief plan. Julia, this has been a busy week for you. Can you first just walk us through the ruling that ultimately blocked the student loan plan?
Yeah, well, they blocked it in about the strongest way they possibly could. They could have said, Biden administration, you need to go back to the drawing board and do this differently. You should have allowed for more comment. You should have tweaked this here and here. But instead, they weighed in on the merits and said that the HEROES Act, that's that 2003 legislation that the Biden administration leaned on for its authority, does not give the Biden administration the authority to do a blanket redirect and canceling of $430 billion in student loans. In fact, in the majority opinion, Chief Justice Roberts is saying that the secretary asserts that the HEROES Act grants him the authority to cancel $430 billion of student loan principal. It does not. We hold today that the act allows the secretary to, quote, waive or modify existing statutory regulatory provisions applicable to the financial assistance program under the Education Act, not to rewrite that statute from the ground up. That's a pretty scathing rebuke of what the Biden administration was trying to do here. That HEROES Act had been used in the past for temporary student debt relief after 9/11 and then again during COVID, and it's set to expire this fall. And now those students will have a lot more money to repay.
All right, Julia, thank you. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent, White House correspondent, I should say, Mike Mimily. He is here with us in studio. We're so glad to have you in person. You of all reporters know this president better than most. He's expected to speak later today. What do you think we're going to hear?
Well, of course, the White House has been watching all these consequential Supreme Court decisions very closely. But this student loan decision is, of course, they're a party to it, right? This has to do with the president's own actions. And so the president did put out a statement earlier today in which he said this decision is wrong and that it really is a lifeline, his program was, for tens of millions of Americans coming out of this pandemic. So that speaks to the goals behind the program. What are we going to hear today? Two things, according to the White House. The first, he's going to lay out some new actions, he says, that will help those with student loan debt. We're unclear of what those are going to be. Some progressives are calling for him to really extend that current pause indefinitely, make it an indefinite moratorium on having to repay your debts. The other thing he's going to do, which speaks to the politics of this, is say it's Republicans who have been driving these legal challenges. It's Republicans who are depriving these, especially younger voters, the opportunity to have this kind of relief. And so that's a real indication of where the politics of this goes. The young voters are a very important part of the president's electoral coalition heading into 2024. You add to that LGBTQ community with the other decision today, the African American community with the affirmative action case yesterday. The Supreme Court is going to be absolutely front and center as in the president's campaign, and that speech today will be an indication of that.
I mean, it is mind-boggling that here in June 2023, we're already seeing the issues that are going to be front and center, the heart of this campaign. I want to go ahead and bring in NBC News business and data reporter Brian Chung on this. Brian, we've been hearing from people who are going to be directly impacted by this ruling. It affects their daily lives. Let's listen to some sound and then talk on the other side.
We're devastated by it. We were looking forward to the student loan forgiveness. We're actually expecting it. That's going to crush us financially.
I think that's also part of the reason people are saying, like, oh, I paid off mine, why can't you pay off yours? Because the people who already paid off theirs don't realize how expensive it's gotten.
So, Brian, I do think it's important for context to say that when Shaquille Brewster, who you saw in that clip, was interviewing the gentleman in the red cap, the front of that cap said, "Make America Great Again." And he said that the recent decision by President Biden, the promise he made, was something that had actually swayed him towards Biden, even though he did not vote for him in the past. When we hear these stories of everyday people, can you explain sort of the financial impact of today's decision?
Yeah, Allison Morgan, when we talk about the bipartisan nature of the, Biden proposal to excuse that student debt, what we're talking about here is a magnitude amount that could really impact your bottom line, because it was $20,000 of cancellation for those that had Pell Grants, $10,000 for those that did not. And that's an enormous amount of money for a lot of American families that in this high inflationary environment are already struggling to pay the bills. Now, in terms of the scale of this, 43 million borrowers, that's how many people the White House estimated this would have impacted. And for what it's worth, when the portal was opened up by the Department of Education to take applications for forgiveness in the fall last year, it had already processed and approved about 16 million Americans worth of applications to get their debt canceled. Now, that was even before the portal was abruptly closed because of the legal proceedings that ultimately went all the way up to the Supreme Court. But broadly speaking, for some American families, depending on the type of degree and the type of debt that you had, it could have been hundreds of dollars in savings per month, thousands over the annual period that Americans will now have to fork up as a result of the Supreme Court actions today.
Brian Chung, Mike Mimily, and Julia Ainsley, thank all of you. We thank all of you for being here, your time, and your reporting.
Turning now to the other major ruling issued by the Supreme Court today. Now, this one involves LGBTQ plus rights and the First Amendment.
So this one, it was a 6-3 vote, the court ruling in favor of an evangelical Christian web designer from Colorado who refuses to work on same-sex weddings. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra joins us now. Marissa, remind people a little bit about the backstory here of this case and break down, if you can, first what the majority had to say here and then what the dissenting justices had to say.
Yeah, so remember, Lori Smith is the plaintiff in the center of all of this from Colorado, a web designer who said she did not believe in the validity of same-sex marriage and therefore did not want to have the possibility of designing a web design for a same-sex marriage couple. And that is something that is already at discussion because that was not something that had even come to fruition. She hasn't even officially started her web design part of the company quite yet. So when we talk about the decision, you mentioned how it was 6-3. It was along ideological lines. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion saying that the First Amendment is one that protects people to think and speak as they wish, not as the government demands. And free speech was the theme of today. He added in part, quote, Colorado seeks to force an individual to speak in ways that align with its views, but defy her conscience about a matter of major significance. Now, we did mention there were 3 justices who were in dissent. Sotomayor was among them, and she said today, quote, the court for the first time in its history grants a business open to the public a constitutional right to refuse to serve members of a protected class, and also added in her dissent that this is coming at a time when the LGBTQ community has felt like they're under attack with sweeping legislation in recent years. Allison and Mickey.
And Marissa, give us a sense. I mean, you spoke with that web designer who you just mentioned earlier. What did she say ultimately about the ruling?
Yeah, so we had a chance to speak with both Lori Smith and as well as somebody that's with the Gender Justice, the top legal director with gender equality. And so we understand obviously there's two very different reactions there. Lori Smith said in part that she and her attorney are thrilled that this is a win for the American people. But then you're also going to hear, right after hearing from Lori Smith, who we had a chance to speak to first, right after that decision dropped, you're going to hear from Jess Braverman and representing a lot of the LGBTQ community's opinions and feelings on this is one, that they are not surprised, but nonetheless disappointed. Take a listen.
This case has always been about speech. And when speech is concerned, speech should be protected. So today's victory protects not just me, but them as well. Protects the LGBT website designer just as much as it protects me.
It's really hard to see the majority of the court strike such a blow for anti-discrimination law. No one really wants to go about their lives thinking, if I go to this place, if I go to this restaurant, if I go to this store, am I going to be turned away for who I am? And the court seems to say, well, that's just, a part of life.
So Morgan and Ellison, I will add on the other end of this very quickly. Remember, there are 29 other states in the country that have laws, anti-discriminatory laws, similar to the one that Colorado had in place. That's the one that this lawsuit was centered around. So there's a lot of questions on what's going to happen in those states next.
All right, Marissa Parra, thank you.
New data on inflation could lead to yet another interest rate hike. Plus, the opening of an American burger joint causes chaos in South Korea.
Kate Rogers joins us now with today's CNBC Money Minute. Hi, Kate. Hey, Allison and Morgan. Inflation pressures are easing up as consumer spending is slowing and personal income is accelerating. One key index, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, rose just 0.3% in May. This number is closely watched by the Federal Reserve to track inflation targets. Both the headline and core PCE numbers were the lowest since 2021. ESPN is cutting around 20 on-air personalities, including stars like Jeff Van Gundy and Jalen Rose. The layoffs are the latest cost-cutting effort ordered by ESPN's parent company, Disney. In a statement, ESPN called the cuts, quote, extremely challenging by having to let go people who had a, quote, tremendous impact on the company. And finally, Five Guys opens its first location in South Korea and drew a big crowd. People were buzzing in line 12 hours before the store opened, pushing through both humidity and rain. Some customers even attempted to profit off of that experience by offering to sell their spot in line or listing food on resale sites for more than $70, much higher than what those burgers typically cost, guys. Back over to you.
All right, our Kate Rogers there from CNBC. Kate, thank you.
Coming up, the travel trouble expected for millions of Americans this 4th of July weekend.
Plus, what's going to happen to your favorite TV shows if Hollywood actors join the writers on the picket line? You're watching NBC News Daily.
Fucking cares? God, who fucking cares, man? I swear to God. Oh, Destiny's live.
Because it is incredibly limited to be harmonically locked into root only movements, and you're missing out on like a whole bunch of harmonic. Yeah, I noticed that. I was trying to do that for my last for the one composition that I want to do, as I'm trying to like force myself, like, okay, well, I know I want to do this. What if I just do a different type of like root position, because it unlocks so much more harmony. But you don't think about it that way if you don't actually learn it. Yeah, I agree. I do. Yeah.
Totally agree. I also think that harmony on its own is mostly useless because voicing is ultimately where the effect of harmony is created. So, you know, if you have like a theoretical major 7 chord, like that doesn't tell you anything about how it's going to feel or move or sound or
because
act
if it's like if the 7th is in the base of the chord, it's going to be very, very, very different. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, I guess one other thing before I go too, since I was just going to pop in quick, what is the composition challenge? Because I feel like I've gotten so many DGGers posting on my YouTube, coming to my other platforms, are like, tell Destiny to do a composition challenge. There's people tagging me in chat. What's a composition challenge?
Yeah, what I used to do, I haven't made one in a little bit. It's been a hot minute.
That's what I hear.
But I'll just make like a cute little itty bitty song, and then I give it to my audience, and then I have all of them make like real songs out of it, and then we judge them all to pick a winner at the end. Yeah.
It's Josh G.
Okay. Take care. Have a great day.
So what happened?
I don't know.
Okay, wait. There are no hell tides on my map, are there? Am I crazy?
Oh, no.
Am I missing?
I didn't have him on to hear what was going on. He was in the chat.
It's the red regions. Look how much time is remaining. Not worth it. There's very little time left. How do I see the time remaining? Not at the moment.
That he was on hold.
Red area in the west. Oh, this.
That was the last I saw. And then he went live, and I didn't know he was live.
Can I see anywhere?
It's like, oh, you can rewind him. I didn't know you could rewind him. Oh, shit. What? He's gonna say right here. He's been live for an hour, it says. Everyone's asking about it. We'll find out right here. Hopefully he'll say something.
Listen, the new Chud drama? What's the new Chud drama? Tell me.
Dude, what the fuck? You're not gonna tell anybody what the fuck?
Call Emerald point is crying because the Supreme Court 6 weeks. Honestly, you know what? I think I support them both. Also, you want even more aggravating take? Ready?
You're bringing me back to that, but like in a specific cohort. Like
Sure.
if your brain is malleable and you're young and you're watching hardcore.
I think I support them both. Also, you want even more aggravating take? Ready? I'm gonna trick you even harder. Anybody that's bringing up legacy hires in the same name as affirmative action is also fucking retarded. Schools want to do legacy hires, they're totally within their right to do so. If you want to hire based on race, you're not within your right to do so. One of these is a constitutionally protected class, the other is just a personal choice for the school. That's how our country works. There you go. The legacy, people doing admissions into college based on, I don't know, alumni and shit, or whatever fucking people get mad about. Everybody's like, oh, we're gonna look at this next. It's like, why would you look at that? Or, I mean, like, colleges can look at it individually. Obviously, it's within their right to do so. But I don't know why you would compare that to, like, race-based administration or whatever. Is affirmative action for jobs, too? I don't know how equity or diversity hires, I don't know how, like, DEI shit works. I don't know legally what the foundation is for that. Explain the web designer one. Why do you agree with that one? Oh, no, I wasn't talking about the web designer one. I'm sorry. I was talking about the student loan one and the, or I got, like, 4 hours to sleep. What was the other big one people talk about?
I agree with Destiny. Discrimination is based, especially against white names in chat.
Oh, I'm sorry, the affirmative action one. Yeah, and then the student loan debt today. Sorry, fuck. The, I don't know how I feel about the web design one. I feel like that's a hard one. I can understand in terms of, like, commissioning paintings that, like, you can't commission a painting of, like, a guy sucking a dick. Like, I think that's okay. But I'd be very curious. I need to read the facts of the case. Like, somebody's like, here's a question. If somebody was designing the website, did the website explicitly have, like, pro-gay stuff on it? Or was it just, like, a gay request? Sorry.
Dude, maybe I should go back.
Why am I? I was hanging with a friend last night, and she, for some reason, at like midnight, got sick.
Everyone's still
for like
asking
3
him
hours.
in the chat.
It was so awkward. I've never roofied somebody and had them have this reaction before, but for like 3 hours she was sick. So I tried to stay with her and help her and shit, and eventually I threw her back to her place. But rip. I don't know if she's dead. She hasn't responded to my messages yet. Jesus.
Did you also talk about the gerrymandering SC decision? I may have missed it.
Wasn't Exeter to win? Didn't we like that? Diarrhea? No, it sounded like, honestly, what she was describing sounded like indigestion. Like, it sounded like she kept saying there was like something stuck here and she wanted to throw up, but she couldn't, and then she felt like really, really, really bad for like 3 hours. But NBC interview, it was just like sometimes they contact random people for like, oh, give us your like 10-minute thoughts on this, or whatever. It was one of that. Destiny, you might have been wrong. Bayesian analysis.
That was it. What happened?
Destiny hasn't conducted his Bayesian analysis on the question of his kick aiming at camp. I don't even know if this will be like a hardcore Bayesian thing, but okay. Oh boy, I can't wait to read this post.
Hello?
Hi, what's up? I'm streaming. Don't say anything crazy.
It's Ting.
What?
we'll keep it tame.
Oh, okay. What's up? I think you did me about abortion something like that, right? Or
Yeah. I thought your past debate didn't really go anywhere.
True. Wait, you're pro-lifer?
I am pro-life, yeah, but we're talking about pornography, right? Should I say corn?
Oh yeah, no, we don't do that shit here. Fuck. Okay, never mind. I remember your email. I'm sorry. I didn't say much last night. Okay, you wanted to talk about pornography, negative effects, and all that. Yeah. Okay. What's up?
Yeah, I guess I'll state kind of my opinion, and then we can go from there.
Sure. Do you want to introduce yourself for the chat and all that?
Sure. Hi. My name is Julia. I used to have a channel called.
He just basically said they didn't call him up.
Variety of content.
It's like he was on hold, but they didn't use him.
Things I no longer believe in, and I was one of the first like anti-feminist YouTubers.
Damn.
But yeah, so like all the weird red pill stuff that's like 10 years after me is kind of like cringe to me now. I never went that far. I think a lot. Yeah.
You got bumped.
I'm glad.
Okay. Well, what's up?
Too much drama.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait, you mind saying where you're from? What country?
I'm from Canada.
You like from Quebec or?
No, I'm from Ontario. I'm from Russia originally, but I lived in Ontario a long time, and I live in Texas now.
God, Jesus. Okay. I was politely trying to figure out where your accent was from. Okay.
Oh, I know it's a weird mix of like Canada land and Russia.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna like state my ideal position because I think that's like not helpful. The way I like to talk about these things is like what kind of change I would love to see that's actually pragmatic and that could happen within 5 years, like through social or legal change. So for me, my main concern is exposure of minors to pornography, which has gone up a lot. The average age of exposure is 11, and like 1 in 10 in some countries of children under the age of 16 are exposed. So that's kind of my main concern, and I don't really see a reason why pornography isn't behind a paywall to help that happen. Like we have loads of other things that we don't allow children to access, and they're all behind paywalls, and pornography for some reason gets a pass on that. So yeah, that's kind of my main goal and concern. Do you have any like strong opinions on that?
Sure. I guess let's start at the very, very, very beginning. What do we think are the harmful effects of children being exposed to pornography, I guess?
Sure. What's your standard of proof? Like, do you accept survey results? Do you accept correlative studies? Like, what would you say?
I don't know. It depends on what you have. I mean, it depends on the topic, but like if we're talking like medicine, then my standard's gonna be a lot higher than
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, with social things like this, especially with like something that's difficult to measure and something that may be harmful, like you can't really do double blind, you can't
of course,
test on kids and all that stuff. Okay, so there's a wide range of studies on pornography. There's like the brain scans, there's like the survey results, there's the correlative studies. The most interesting to me are ones that show issues to begin with, and then with reduction of porn use, those issues get better. That's like in adults, but specifically for children, there was a huge study released this year. Actually, it was a report by the Children's Commissioner for England, and they took 500 transcripts from 2 different sources in the country. One being like a witness evidence thing for when they're doing criminal proceedings. So these are like actual charged crimes that they're investigating, and they're using the witness evidence, which is a lot of the time transcripts from interviews. And then also the sexual assault center in England. So that's like accumulatively 500 transcripts from those 2 government sources. And they're all people under the age of 18. I think the youngest is like, most of it is like between 10 and 16. Those are the ages. And this is child on child sexual crimes.
Okay.
So they're taking the reports from those instances and going through them, parsing through them, and seeing if there's any correlation to porn use, porn exposure. And they found a 50% instance of very specific pornographic descriptors mentioned, with sometimes the children literally saying, oh, I watched this and then I did this. So there does seem to be some correlation between at least early exposure and like the viewing of like the more violent stuff to kids enacting those things on each other. And I mean, the argument there could be like, are these kids like, are they going to be criminals no matter what? And is the pornography just pushing them to do more horrible things? It's very difficult to say like pornography is causing them to do the crime to begin with, but I think looking at such a wide range of data and with their specific instances, like you can kind of like from common sense say, yeah, it looks like these children are doing things they were exposed to.
Okay.
That was the conclusion of the report, and they are trying to pass legislation based on these findings. So that's actually like the most interesting study recently that I've seen. Yeah, so in terms of kids, that's the main one. And I think there's like a lot of things with children where you can like intuit like, is this good, is this bad, without like doing a significant study. Like there's loads of stuff we don't allow kids to do or to be exposed to that like we don't have hard data to prove that it's bad for them. We just like don't do it to err on the side of caution.
Okay, what would be like a proposed change you think would be helpful?
I think if you make free pornography illegal, I would estimate like 90% reduce exposure to children, because a lot of this exposure is accidental or child to child. And if like
very interesting stuff. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed all that. I know I did. That was really exciting that there was an opportunity there for old boy to be on the goddams. It just didn't happen, but you know, it was worth waiting for just to see. And you guys can check Destiny out at destiny.gg/big screen. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching the show. Hope you had fun. And remember, I'm at Naves Garden on Twitter. I'll be live later today, I'm sure. Hope you enjoyed the 3-hour show. Bye, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you liked it.